newsworthy.com.
Are you ready?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studios, this is the Steve Malzberg Show. Be a part of the action by calling 855-777-9660. That's 855-777-9660. Or email Steve at malzbergshow@newsmax.com. Here is Steve Malzberg.
Welcome to the Steve Malzberg Show. I'm David Nelson. I'm filling in for Steve today. We've got a great show lined up for you, but right now I'm going right to the top of the news. The verdict is in for the man accused of the largest leak of classified information in U.S. history. Private First Class Bradley Manning has been found not guilty of aiding the enemy in the WikiLeaks case. This verdict was brought down by the judge on the case. Army Colonel Denise Lind found him not guilty. Joining us to help us better understand the verdict and what the implications are is New York State Senator Lee Zeldin. Lee is a former U.S. Army intelligence officer and federal prosecutor, and he joins us by phone. Lee, welcome. Thank you so much for taking the time today.
Good afternoon. It's good to be here.
Well, the verdict's out, and we've been waiting for this for some time. He's been waiting for this for some time. Just right out of the gate here, what are your thoughts on the verdict?
Well, while he was acquitted of one particular charge, maybe the most controversial charge, he has previously pled to lesser charges, which carried a maximum of about 20 years, and today was convicted on several different counts, counts related to espionage, theft charges, computer fraud charges, other military infractions. And he's going to be going to Fort Leavenworth most likely for a very long time. Sentencing starts tomorrow, so we'll find out for sure. So while he was acquitted of one charge, he's still being held accountable for his conduct.
Well, he's going away for a very long time. That's quite obvious. But he has some fans, Lee. I mean, there are a lot of people in Hollywood that have defended him, have compared him. They say Daniel Ellsberg. They say he's another Daniel Ellsberg. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I don't find him to be a hero. Would respectfully disagree with with the assessment of his supporters that what he did was heroic. We have a lot of people in this nation with access to classified intelligence. It's important in our efforts to keep our nation safe, to protect our freedoms and liberties at home. We need to have those relationships with countries abroad, and he put those relationships at risk. He put those service members, diplomats, others overseas at risk, and we don't need every private, sergeant, officer in the military to have that kind of freedom whenever they wish, that they can just release to the public, 700,000 confidential documents. That debate of our foreign policy, of the way that we have our surveillance programs, the way we conduct ourselves with military conflicts. That debate is an important debate to have. And decisions need to be made in the White House and Congress. It should play out in the media. But what we can't afford to do as a nation is have every single person who has access to classified information giving them the freedom to release whatever they want, whenever they want. We just can't allow that.
It brings up echoes, of course, of the Snowden case, which would involve the NSA. But 750,000 pages of information are out there. How damaging is this information? He's actually on record saying that he didn't think it would hurt the United States. How damaging do you think this information was?
Well, I think that it's very damaging. The relationships that we have with intelligence services all across the world, the trust that we try to build in intelligence sharing with other nations, sometimes with nations who are close allies, others not as much. And I think it certainly put that relationship and that trust at risk. We need to, any other nation who wants to work with us on common enemies out there around the world, they need to know that we haven't granted the flexibility to every single person with access to classified information the ability to release it, whenever they want. So I find it to be very damaging.
The big issue in this, of course, over the last certainly over the last year, has been whether or not some frame him as a whistleblower and some frame him as a traitor. Let's take the whistleblower side of this. If you're a private man and you have information like this and you're very disturbed by it, he said he was very disturbed by it. What's, say, the proper channel? How would you go about getting this information to the right people so that maybe something could be done about it in a constructive way?
Okay, so obviously he went the nuclear option, the one that causes the most amount of danger. There are options that are less than that nuclear option. Obviously, one that he might find to be unhelpful. You start with your chain of command. You always start with your chain of command. If that's not going to work, if that's not an option, you can speak to your JAG, the military attorneys. You could speak to the inspector general.
Could you explain that for our viewers? I hear the term often, JAG, but if you could explain what that means.
So the military attorneys are made up, are the JAG Corps. In all the branches of the U.S. Armed Forces, we have a JAG Corps made up of military attorneys. They advise the command. Sometimes the chain of command may need a recommendation or a very strong recommendation on a particular course of action. And if the chain of command is not doing the right thing, let's say in Private Manning's analysis, there are military attorneys who advise that command. So if going to the command is not dealing with a particular issue of concern, you can go to the command's military advisors. Not saying it's going to always work, but it's another option. Another option on top of that, in the Army and the military, there's something called the Inspector General's Corps. You have Inspector Generals. When something wrong is happening, their job is to investigate it and to correct it. If that's not an option, you have a lot of service members who file congressionals. They go to their congressman from their home of record, and our congressmen, regardless of party, all across the country will often research these congressionals. They have staffs who aggressively try to get to the bottom of it on behalf of their constituents who may happen to be in the military. And I'm just going through a few different options that are out there before going to the nuclear option.
There seems like a lot of ways he could have gone. He did mention that he had tried to go to the New York Times via the Daniel Ellsberg route, who, of course, leaked the Pentagon Papers. It's a fascinating story. It seems like a disturbing trend, Lee. I hope it's one that we don't see again soon. We're out of time, but thank you so much for weighing in on this. It's very, very informative. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Have a good day.
That, of course, was Lee Zeldin, a former JAG officer himself. A very interesting case. It does seem like a disturbing trend. We have this. We have Snowden. We're going to be talking about Snowden later on the program. Got a great show lined up for you. Coming up next, we're going to have Fox News anchor Charles Payne. He's going to join us to discuss how much have Americans actually given up on the American dream. We'll find out. I'm David Nelson. This is the Steve Malzberg Show.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
What is LigNet? LigNet is knowledge. LigNet is power. LigNet is global. Top-level officials, U.S. intelligence officers, national security advisors, foreign operatives, all reporting directly to you. What is LigNet? LigNet is confidential. LigNet is sensitive. LigNet is security. What is LigNet? They're the ones taking the world's pulse. If you're not in the know, you're not on lignet.com. You've been briefed.
Obamacare. More than $1 trillion in new costs. Hidden taxes, fees, big Medicare cuts, doctor shortages. How can we survive?
To know Obamacare is to survive Obamacare. The Obamacare Survival Guide tells you everything you need to know to protect yourself, your family, your business. The Obamacare Survival Guide at bookstores everywhere. Special internet-only offer right now at Obamacare911.com.
Obamacare. President Obama's massive health care law is taking effect this year. With over 15,000 pages of regulations, few even know what it means. Now, the Obamacare Survival Guide by Nick Tate gives you the shocking facts about this law. It's a step-by-step guide on how you can protect yourself. Already the New York Times bestseller, Every American needs to get the Obamacare Survival Guide and find out about the new taxes, hidden fees, fines, Medicare changes, business rules, and why doctor shortages are likely. Donald Trump says the Obamacare Survival Guide is a must-read for anyone worried about getting good health care for themselves or their employees. So get the Obamacare Survival Guide. It's at bookstores or get our special offer at Obamacare911.com and you'll save $15. Go now to Obamacare911.com. Obamacare911.com.
We're in the midst of an obesity epidemic, and I'm not surprised. The statistics on obesity mirror an increasing trend of eating out or ordering in. In fact, some people dine out every night. But eating in restaurants is one of the biggest enemies of your heart. When you're in a restaurant, you don't really know what you're getting. And the calorie counts of many restaurant dishes are astronomical. In fact, some single dishes contain more calories than we should eat in an entire day. Eating in fast food restaurants is even worse. A diet of hamburgers, French fries, and shakes constitutes a fast lane to the emergency room. If you really want to help your heart, get in the habit of cooking simple meals at home. Here are 3 easy tips that will make your food taste better than even the best restaurant. Choose the best fruit in season. Your local farmer's market is a great place to start. It will probably still cost less than that pie you were thinking of buying. Get in the habit of using fresh herbs. You can use them in egg white omelets or dust them on the fish you grill or bake. And for a light dessert, choose a square or 2 of dark chocolate that you and your spouse can enjoy. There are lots of ways to make your heart healthy, but there are also lots of ways to damage it. That's why I wrote Fix It, Dr. Crandall's 90-day program. In it, I'll tell you how to kickstart your metabolism every day, how to pick the best diet for you, how to stop hunger from sabotaging your diet, the 7 superfoods for your heart. I'm Dr. Chauncey Crandall, and thanks for watching this Heart Health Minute.
Where can you find the Steve Malzberg Show?
Everywhere.
From your smartphone to satellite radio
To Newsmax Live TV
to Roku,
we have you covered. Here is Steve Malzberg.
Welcome back. I'm David Nelson. This is the Steve Malzberg Show. In the last several months, we've been very focused on race issues in this country. The Zimmerman trial, of course. Then you have the likes of Reverend Al Sharpton, O'Reilly's comments last week, Don Lemon from CNN, and even myself. But lost in all of this is what's happening really in the rest of America. The AP is out with the results of a new survey, economic survey, and the results are particularly startling. The president is out on the campaign trail. He's selling the economic message and telling you that he wants to build this country from the middle out. The question is, we're in the 5th year of this presidency, and my question for my next guest is, how's he doing? Joining us to share his thoughts is Fox News anchor Charles Payne. Charles is also founder of Wall Street Strategies, and he joins us by phone from New York. Charles, welcome, my friend. Thanks so much for calling in.
Hey, thanks for having me, David.
Charles, I read your column religiously every day. I know you don't believe that, but I do.
I do. You send me a lot of beautiful emails. wstreet.com. I appreciate it.
Every time I see something that really strikes me, and this morning you wrote something, and it really hits hard. You talk about what's going on in the rest of America right now. Walk me through your thought process. What drove you to write this?
You know, this Associated Press did this gigantic survey, and the headline caught a lot of people. It was reported on most news outlets. It was a record 46 million people, 15% of the population of America living in poverty. But that's the headline. You know, often there's so much more beneath the surface. So I dig inside this report, and to me, the report should have been titled "An SOS from White America." I mean, I got to tell you something, David. And by the way, this report, this survey, dovetails with a lot of trends that we're seeing. You know, for instance, the last presidential elections, As a group, white people voted at a lower rate than black people for the first time ever. What we see with consumer confidence, the consumer confidence report out today came in at 80. You know, that number used to be 145 back in 2000, even 115 in 2007.
I didn't know that, Charles. It was that high?
It was that high.
Wow.
It was amazing. I mean, in the top 100 metropolitan areas, people rent rather than buy, even though buying is cheaper. In fact, home ownership at an 18-year low. So all of this takes me back to 1980. And by the way, this report also said that you know how white Americans feel about the economy is at the lowest point since then, which is not a coincidence. That takes us back to Jimmy Carter when he talked about the malaise in his country. So, you know, these so-called economic policies that, by the way, are so far off the mark are missing something that's really amazing. All people, are giving up on this country.
You know, a couple of the things that I saw in the report right now. You seem to really have dug into the numbers. 17% of white children living in high poverty neighborhoods, 30% at poverty, 13% in 2000, 62% of white Americans rate the economy as poor. Those are frightening figures, Charles.
Those are really frightening figures. You know, you start to think about things like the number of white single mother households living in poverty surpassed blacks in the past decade. In part to job losses, but also in part to faster out-of-wedlock births. And so, you know, we talk about Detroit. Detroit has been a big news item since filing for bankruptcy. And we always think about these things on pure economics. What should the tax policy be? What should the bailout be? What should this be? If you don't get to the social aspect of what goes hand in hand with some of these policies, then you're missing the point. And right now I think we're at a real crossroads where it's not that we can be bailed out. It's just like Greece and Portugal and Spain. You can keep giving them money. They're never going to be great again until they get a mindset of greatness. You know, to a large degree, and you're a student of economics, a great economy is self-fulfilling.
I'm glad you brought up Detroit, Charles, because I'd like to cover that. It's a great microcosm of what's really wrong. There seemed to be, at least from the liberal left ethic, certainly, I don't think Detroit has had a Republican administration since the days of Lincoln. The other thing that's really disturbed me, and I think Kevin Orr pointed out, he says they have to own up to it, and this is their problem. But from a financial level, and this is what I want to talk to you about, if this city is allowed to just declare bankruptcy like this, obviously bondholders get hit very hard. What's to say any other city in this country that has to go to the capital markets, they say, you know what? It worked for Detroit. I'm going to do it. What happens? Do we create a domino effect? I guess that's where I'm driving.
It's possible. It's possible. Although, you know, I think what happens is it just becomes more expensive for weaker cities to raise money. You know, listen, you know, even Greece can raise money, but at terms that they consider draconian. And so it becomes that much harder for cities that may be on a cusp or trying to turn it around to get money to build a bridge that they legitimately need or to fund their schools. So it just makes it that much more expensive, which, by the way, is a lesson for all of America, because as our debt goes up and it takes a greater and greater amount of our national income to pay off just the interest, it's going to make it that much more difficult. But here's the thing about Detroit, though, David. I spoke with a professor a year ago who said 47% of the adults are functionally illiterate. So we get back to what happens is the deterioration of a society isn't just about economics. The economics and the spirit decline at the same time. You know, Bell, California, where they had all these scandals, I trace back two things that hurt them on the economic side and on the spiritual side. Now, the riots in Watts drove out big-time businesses there. Goodyear Tire and all these guys were there. Before that, you can go back even further. Politicians were always ripping them off, going back to Lucky Luciano and that kind of stuff. So, no, I'm serious. It's really nuts. I'm thinking about writing a book about this thing. But the point is that there's a decline, a simultaneous decline. And for the most part, you often hear us talk about, you know, throwing money at these problems. But there's something in this number from AP that is frightening, and it goes beyond just dollars and cents.
You're making me laugh, Charles, but we're talking about all that's wrong with America, and there are some good things. Tell me what's working in this economy.
Well, I tell you what's working in America is the DNA of America, and I'm glad you brought that up because, I tell this to all my conservative friends and my Republican friends. I think one of the big mistakes that they've made since President Obama's been in office is the notion that we're going to collapse into the ocean tomorrow. It took Greece 30 years to become the Greece that we talk about as a cautionary tale. Listen, this is earnings season. I'm looking at companies that have been around for about 20 years or less. That just a good old-fashioned American ingenuity. Today, multimedia games, MGAM is up 12%. It's at a 52-week high, and it's not funny. It's not hard to understand. It's slot machines, lumber liquidators, hardwood floors, Pets.com, selling pet medicine over the internet, Under Armour selling a newfangled shirts to play sports in. So these things continue to happen beneath the surface. Even Facebook with the disastrous IPO.
Yeah, that was a surprise.
Right, it's almost back to its IPO price. So the point is that there's a certain DNA, the same thing that Tocqueville saw when he came to this country, the idea that every American thinks they can be great. That's what blew his mind. No Europeans were like, "Are you nuts? We have the class system. If you're not born into it, or you're not, the physician of the wealthy, there's no way in the world you change your lot in life." And he thought we were arrogant for that.
We hear the rhetoric, quite often, Charles, and of course, President Obama is out on the campaign train. Very quickly, he put out an olive branch to the Republican Party, saying that he will consider lowering corporate taxes. What are your thoughts?
It was a poison ivy branch. I wish I could even say it was halfway serious, really. A short-term tax increase for the promise of a tax decrease that widens the base later.
I knew.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I know about Faustian deals, but you got to make the apple a little shinier than that.
All right, I got to leave it there, Charles.
Right,
Charles, thank you so much for calling in. We appreciate it. Oh, Charles is always good for a good one. That was funny. Of course. We got coming up next in our next segment. We've got a great segment coming up next. Doug Burns, former federal prosecutor, joins us to discuss why the Real Housewife of New Jersey's might be going to jail. We're going to find out. I'm David Nelson. This is the Steve Malzberg Show.
Steve Malzberg Show.
If you are successful at what you do, whether you're a doctor, a lawyer, a business owner, or you have a great career, you understand the concept of protecting yourself. Well, are you protecting yourself, your family, and your assets with quality term life insurance? Consider these possible rates. A man age 45 non-tobacco user could obtain $1 million of coverage for as little as $75 a month, and this rate is fixed for the next 10 years. We specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. A man age 50 non-tobacco user may be able to obtain $500,000 of coverage for as little as $115 a month. And this rate is fixed for the next 20 years. We have great rates for smokers too. Call the Term Lifeline now. 800-430-1309, 800-430-1309, 800-430-1309.
This is a referral service. Calls will be routed to an independent referral insurance agency. Do you know the number one cause of bankruptcy? No, it's not losing your job or running up credit card debt. It's not even divorce. It's medical costs. If you and your family don't have health insurance, just one serious illness or accident could be financially devastating. But now there's good news, really good news. A health insurance hotline has been established to provide health insurance for all Americans, even uninsured Americans with pre-existing conditions. Now anyone can get health insurance even if you have a pre-existing medical condition. I repeat, now anyone can get health insurance coverage. Call now for a free no-obligation quote on affordable health plans available to you. Again, this is a free hotline for anyone, even if you have pre-existing conditions. Protect you and your family from sudden unexpected medical costs. Call the free health insurance hotline right now at 1-800-910-3470. That's 1-800-910-3470. Call 1-800-910-3470.
Attention hip implant patients. Are you in constant pain? Have you received a letter from your doctor about your implant? Have you had or need a revision surgery? Do you have high levels of metal, chromium, or cobalt in your blood? Over 90,000 hip implant devices have been recalled due to defects and failures resulting in revision or replacement surgery. If you have a recalled hip implant, you may be entitled to substantial financial compensation. Call 800-460-0920 to see if your implant is affected by the recalls. If you or a loved one has a defective or recalled hip implant, you may be entitled to substantial financial compensation. Call 800-460-0920. That's 800-460-0920. Protect your legal rights today. Call 800-460-0920. This is an advertisement, not valid in all states. Paid non-attorney spokesperson. iLawsuit.com is an advertising group that represents lawyers advertising their services and is a free matching service for consumers. It is not a law firm or lawyer referral service.
Hi, I'm Joan London, and if you're worried about your parent or a loved one living alone like I was, and you want reliable senior care information, then call A Place for Mom, the nation's largest senior living referral service. You'll get free information on assisted living, Alzheimer's care, nursing homes, even important financial information.
They had obviously researched every place, not just given me names.
Really? Yeah.
They found me a place for what she could afford, and it was magnificent.
We're now very confident that she's safe, and they just helped every step of the way, and I can't thank them enough.
So if you're struggling to find reliable senior living information, call A Place for Mom. This is a free service, and you can trust them to help you.
If you're struggling to find reliable senior living information for your mom or dad, then call or go online to get the free help you need during this turbulent time. Call now, 800-908-1254, 800-908-1254.
This is not your typical Screamfest talk show.
No.
This is the next generation of talk radio. Here is Steve Malzberg.
Welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show. I'm David Nelson. Okay, bad news in Hollywood. Teresa Guidance. I don't know if I have that right. Teresa Giudice is what it really is. She's the star of course, The Real Housewives of New Jersey. Her and her husband have been indicted with 39 counts of mail and wire fraud. That sounds like a very serious charge. I wonder how much time is involved in that. To help us out to better understand what this means for the two of them, I've invited Doug Burns, former federal prosecutor, to join us and discuss why the Real Housewives of New Jersey might be going to jail. Doug, thanks so much for being with us.
My pleasure.
Doug, did you have a chance to look at the indictment at all? I think it's 33 pages, so you may not have had the chance to read it all.
I read it.
You read it. How bad is it?
I'll tell you something. I didn't peruse it. I know that's confusing, but peruse means to read carefully. People don't realize that.
Well, what do you think here? I mean,
no, let me break it down for you. It's a three-part case, David. The first part of the case is loan fraud, and in simple English, what that means is that they applied to various financial institutions: Park Avenue Bank, Wachovia, an entity called Sterling, and then one called CSBC. And they misrepresented, according to the indictment. They're obviously innocent until ultimately proven guilty. I want to make that clear. Obviously, an indictment is just a charge. But the allegation is that they presented false information about their employment and false W-2s, and thereby got a total of over $4 million of loans. If that is proven to be true, i.e., that the employment information they provided was not true and they knew it, then that is obviously loan and mortgage.
Doug, let me break in for a second.
Sure.
Because what I don't understand here, they're being charged with loan fraud, all right? So I'm assuming that what they're trying to do is get more money, correct?
Well, no. The case, you have to look at it chronologically. In other words, apparently before they came into a higher amount of money because of the acting job, the point is they were trying to get construction loans and regular loans. And I've been in many cases exactly like this over 25 years. And basically, people sometimes will go to a mortgage broker. I'll give you a hypothetical, and the mortgage broker says, "How much do you make?" And they say $40,000. They go, "Okay, we're going to write it up like you make 90." And they write down that the person makes 90. They get the loan. The secondary part of the story, of course, David, is whether or not the loan performed. So that's the second part of it, because the point is, if you lie to get the loan, that's the completed crime in the academic classroom. But in the real world, if you pay the loan back, that mitigates the penalty.
Really? Okay. Well, what about the other charge
The
here?
other
Because
two parts
it's
of the
like they're
case-
talking about bankruptcy here.
Yeah, the other two parts of the case are bankruptcy fraud and failure to file taxes with respect to the husband. I'll work backwards. The last few counts in the indictment are what we federal criminal lawyers call failure to file counts, which means that he did not file a tax return knowing he was required to do so. Those are misdemeanor counts. So standing alone, they're a little bit less serious. The middle part of the case is bankruptcy fraud, which really is just a variegation of perjury. In other words, that they filed various bankruptcy documents and did not disclose certain assets, holdings, accounts, and so forth. And that's, again, just a straight fraud count.
So what happens now? I mean, what's likely? How long until this actually will end up in court, or will they try to settle this out of court?
No, very good question. What happens is they're going to go back for a formal arraignment in August. They'll enter a plea of not guilty. I always chuckle to some extent, in the media where they're like, they're saying they're not guilty. A plea of not guilty is just a legal plea, meaning you're standing on your rights for the moment.
Does anybody plead guilty to anything
They do
anymore?
not plead guilty. Excellent question. Right at the arraignment, David. Nobody does, and that's why we always chuckle when the media reports are, so-and-so celebrity went to court. They said they're not guilty. The point is, it's just a preservation of rights. Now, to answer your very good question, I would anticipate that there will be discussions back and forth about some type of resolution to the case by way of a plea. We'll see. But what's going to drive the bus here, and I'll simplify it, is what we call the U.S. sentencing guidelines, because under those guidelines, it's the amount of money in play. You heard me say earlier that, if you pay back part of the loan, it mitigates it. Hyper-technically, it doesn't, because the amount of the fraud is the amount you got. But the point is, when you're negotiating a disposition, it's critical in terms of, what amount of money really went into your pocket, what you might have paid back or properly serviced, and so on. I was in, real quick, a mortgage case during the housing boom, and people fraudulently got mortgages. They all went into foreclosure, but the homes were sold for more than the loans. There was no loss before the court.
And what happened to them?
They got probation.
They got probation. This kind of fits for New Jersey reality shows in general, because generally this associated with corruption and crime in some of these shows. So maybe it is really a reality show, so
David,
to
it's
speak.
probably good for the show, you're saying?
Maybe, you know what? Did anybody see cameras out there with their camera trucks outside? Maybe this is part of the series. But on a more serious note here, this is a 39-count indictment.
No, look.
If they're found guilty, let's say they go down on everything.
Yes.
Are we talking jail time and how much?
All right. Well, here's another, second pet peeve. I turned on the TV last night. I'm sitting there with my wife. They go, they say 50 years. And again, I chuckle. When the media says that, they take the statutory exposure of something like, 5 years per count. They add it all up, and it makes for a great sound. The reality is, you figure out the loss and so on and so forth. On the worst day, a case like this could potentially be quite serious and could be 6, 7, 8 years in prison, something like that.
Wow, that is serious.
Yeah, on its best day, it could be down to a probationary level. And, the reality, no pun intended, is that it's, likely somewhere in between. We'll see. It depends on the negotiation. It depends on, honestly, how serious the government feels. And by the way, it depends on the real loss, as I said earlier, versus, what may have been paid back.
This falls under the guise, I guess, of white-collar crime. And so many youths out there, they commit a very small act and they get years in prison. Fascinating story, Doug. Thank you so much for taking the time today.
My pleasure.
All right, reality star. We'll see what happens to Teresa in, I guess, the coming weeks. It could probably take a year before we get to the end of this. We'll see how this plays out in Hollywood. I'm sure it plays very, very well. All right, coming up next is my next guest, Wayne Dupree. He's the CEO and founder of NewsNinja2012.com. He's an African-American conservative. He's going to join us and discuss Don Lemon's comments. I played those yesterday. I hope you had a chance. We're going to play them a little bit later in the program, what he said about Bill O'Reilly. He was on CNN the other day speaking about race issues. I'm David Nelson. This is the Steve Malzberg Show.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
If you need to lose weight and would like to get paid for it, that's right, I said get paid to lose weight, just listen to the following announcement. The makers of GCE Green Coffee Bean Weight Loss are looking for real testimonials from real people and will pay you per pound to meet or exceed your weight loss goal. Until now, the secrets of green coffee's fat-burning power has been limited, but thanks to Dr. Oz, the secret is out. And now, this authentic green coffee bean fat burner is available in easy-to-take tablets. There are no expensive meals to buy or strenuous workouts. Simply take one tablet before each meal and record your progress. Only the first 200 callers are guaranteed to be accepted into the program. So if you're serious about losing extra weight and want to earn extra cash for fitting into your skinny jeans again, call 800-383-9230 now. Call 800-383-9230. 800-383-9230. Space is limited, so hurry and secure your spot today. 800-383-9230. Some conditions apply. 800-383-9230. 800-383-9230. You've heard the allegations on the news, and during the big game, pro football players have been using deer antler velvet to get a competitive edge. Banned at the London Games for its performance-enhancing qualities. Forbidden in major sports leagues for being an unfair advantage to athletes. Deer antler velvet is now in stock and available to try for free for a limited time only. Athletes have been using it for years for increased strength, increased endurance, muscle mass stress reduction, and yes, greatly enhanced libido. Everyone's talking about this miracle substance so powerful, it's being banned by professional sports organizations. But for a limited time, it's being made available to the general public. Best of all, you can try it for free by calling 800-678-5153. That's right, get Superior Velvet for free. If you're looking to boost your performance on the field and between the sheets, get the most powerful, proven product used by athletes for years now for free. Claim your free bottle today by calling 800-678-5153. That's 800-678-5153. Again, 800-678-5153.
Hi, this is Mike Reagan. Folks ask me, what would Ronald Reagan do if he were with us today? I believe the first thing he'd do is stop Obamacare. Already it's in effect with higher taxes, hidden fees, skyrocketing insurance rates, big Medicare cuts, and some insurance plans are hit with a 40% tax. Protect yourself by getting the Obamacare Survival Guide. It's already a #1 New York Times bestseller. Newsmax says it's the best guide to the new law, giving you the strategies, tips, and loopholes you need to know. If you're insured on Medicare, a business owner, a medical professional, just about anyone, you need this book. Get the #1 bestseller, The Obamacare Survival Guide, at bookstores everywhere. Or get our special $4.95 offer and save $15 off the cover price by going now to Obamacare911.com. Obamacare911.com. That's Obamacare911.com.
This is the worst weather we've seen in quite some time, folks, and I don't see any end in sight. People have been calling in from across the state complaining their basements are flooding. One guy said he now has an indoor swimming pool in his basement. I told him he needs the waterproofing innovations from Basement Systems. If you want a dry basement or crawl space that will weather any kind of storm, you need the patented solutions from Basement Systems. You've seen them on home makeover shows throughout the country. With a lifetime warranty, every solution is custom designed for your basement. You can finally have that room you've always wanted with our total basement finishing system. Call now for a free estimate, and you'll never have to worry about storms like these again.
Call now for your free basement inspection at 800-516-9794, 800-516-9794. Learn how to waterproof your basement now. Call this number, 800-516-9794, 800-516-9794.
I love you, son, so it hurts when you say I hate you. I'm your mother. I'm tired of you disrespecting me when you don't get your way. I work hard to make sure you have everything you need. I should be able to ask you to get out of bed in the morning without a fight. So from now on, things are going to be different. I ordered the Total Transformation Program. We're not going to scream and fight anymore. I'm going to tell you what to do in a different way, and you're going to do it. You're not going to call me ugly names anymore, and if you do, you're going to get consequences that'll keep you from calling me ugly names. We're not going to do things your way anymore, son. We're going to do things the total transformation way.
Get the Total Transformation free. Just order the program, tell us how it works for you, and you can keep it for free. Call 1-888-577-9520. 1-888-577-9520. Call now. Call 1-888-577-9520. 1-888-577-9520.
The Steve Malzberg Show is just a bit different from the other radio shows.
We have TV cameras.
Watch the show at newsmax.com
Or listen on your favorite radio station.
Here's Steve Malzberg.
But now that the jury has reached its verdict, one that everyone must accept, it's time now for some tough love on the subject.
The reason there is so much violence and chaos in the black precincts is the disintegration of the African-American family.
He's got a point. In fact, he's got more than a point. Bill?
Raised without much structure, young black men often reject education and gravitate towards the street culture, drugs, hustling, gangs. Nobody forces them to do that. Again, it is a personal decision.
He is right about that too. But in my estimation, he doesn't go far enough.
That, of course, was Don Lemon, African-American CNN host, speaking about O'Reilly's comments that created such a storm of controversy. And I guess the one thing that the Zimmerman trial did do is obviously created a dialogue. And it's important now to have a constructive dialogue. Joining us to help us better understand what's happening in our nation right now and give us a better perspective on race relations in this country is Wayne Dupree, the CEO and founder of NewsNinja2012.com. Wayne, thank you for calling in.
Hey, buddy, how you doing? Thank you for allowing me to chime in on
Wayne,
this subject.
You're such a prolific writer. I was just reading one of your things from the other. I'm not even sure when this came out. It's a fabulous piece here where you challenge the NAACP, and one line struck me in particular. You said the 20th century black man can't eat civil rights. That's a profound statement. Walk me through your thought process on what's going on with race relations in this country today.
Oh, they're being stoked. They're being stoked by limousine leaders and poverty pimps and individuals that are trying to make a whole lot of money but not helping the community.
What do you think? I was encouraged by what Don Lemon said the other day. I thought it was a profound moment, actually, in race relations in this country, because I think he said some things that a lot of people don't want to say because we're afraid of offending black America. Certainly, there are many things that they complain about that are absolutely true, but he points out some very hard truths. And a disturbing statistic that I came across is 90% of all black men that suffer a violent crime, they're killed by another black person, and that's tragic. And he actually pointed out 5 things. I'm going to play a very short clip here, clip number 5. And let me just frame this. He's pointing out 5 things that young blacks could do in their community. Let's go to that clip right now.
Okay. Because black people, if you really want to fix the problem, here's just 5 things that you should think about doing. Here's number 5. And if this doesn't apply to you, if you're not doing this, then it doesn't apply to you. I'm not talking about you. Here's number 5. Pull up your pants. Number 4 now is the N-word. Now number 3, respect where you live. Number 2, finish school. And number 1, and probably the most important, just because you can have a baby, it doesn't mean you should.
The 2 in there that disturb me the most, now I want to start with the last one that he mentioned first. So many young black women, and probably white women as well, have babies when they shouldn't. Just because you can have a baby doesn't mean you should have a baby. How much of a problem is that in the black community?
Oh, it's a lot. Well, actually, it's a lot. It's a lot all over the nation, actually. Having a baby real young isn't just stuck with the black community, but however, it's keeping the community down because there's no father. Well, I believe there's no father in the home. There's no balance in the home because honestly, I have I have 2 daughters. I'm not having it. And I teach my daughters a whole lot more respect for themselves and love from a male perspective. And I watch over my daughters, and they know that they can come to me and talk to me, and they have that communication tunnel. But when you take the father out of the home, which the Democrats have done for the last 40 years, 50 years, then there is no male there to reinforce that love, fatherly love, that protective love, and then they go out and then they get in trouble and then they fall on the welfare side of the government and gimme, and then that goes to their children and then their children too.
One of the tragic things out of all this, and you're bringing it up very eloquently, is that very often when a young woman, white or black, has a child, there is not going to be a father in the home, and very, very often these children do not have a dual parental basis, to construct their lives with, and that creates all sorts of problems. I saw it when I was growing up. I came from a different era. There was far less of it when I was growing up, but I remember it was a struggle for some of those single-parent families, and it seems to proliferate throughout America right now. It struck me real hard when he said that. The other thing that he pointed out there, and it really disturbs me when I hear it, is the use of the N-word. And
oh yeah,
I don't get it. I don't get it. And he points out in there one particular. I didn't play it in the segment, but one of the things he said is that he was concerned about saying that himself. That coming down on that, and he had actually talked to comics who said that what they're trying to do is take back the word. By using the N-word, they're taking it back and they're turning it into poetry. And he said he had got confirmation the very next day that doesn't work when he saw a young black woman hit her daughter and call her the N-word. And so I don't get how that's going to reinforce anything.
Let me tell you something about these comedians. These comedians feel like that they can get away. That's their little get-out-of-jail card. By throwing that name, well, I'm a comedian, I shouldn't be taken seriously. Anytime something comes out of your mouth, you should be taken seriously. Now, if you want to say it in a funny way, okay, fine. But you should be taken seriously funny. But, I mean, individuals like that can get on TV and say, well, we took the sting out of it. No, you didn't. Well, we took the ugliness and threw it away. No, you didn't. Or like Jesse Jackson and some other people, well, we buried it. No, you didn't. I mean, it shouldn't be right for anybody to say it. Or, yeah, and I'm saying it, or you let everybody say it. I mean, there's no, well, you aren't the right color, so you can't say it. Well, you aren't the right, you weren't born at this time in this hospital at this date eating a tuna sandwich. You can't say it. So I mean, that's, I mean. I
hear you, Wayne. Wayne, let me ask you this. I mean, we've watched this unfold really over the last week. Ever since Bill O'Reilly on the O'Reilly Factor made those comments that were shown in that video clip at the start of this segment. There's been a battle, an ongoing battle, tit for tat. Fox News versus MSNBC, O'Reilly versus Al Sharpton, and Al Sharpton is, digging him, he's digging that, and we have a little war going on. And one thing that O'Reilly refers to quite often refers to the civil rights industry and why it's in their best interest to keep the race card going. Do you think that's true?
That's true. Yes.
It is true.
Yes, that's true. That's true because, I mean, if they didn't have that, most of the minorities in the Democratic Party would not be in the Democratic Party right now because they would have a whole lot more freedom. With every time you throw this situation up, and mind you, the things that O'Reilly, Limbaugh, and
Al Sharpton.
No,
sorry.
The other one, Hannity.
Okay.
The things that they talked about, other black conservative leaders have been talking about for a long time. Thomas Sowell has been talking about it for a long time, but you don't see Al Sharpton saying anything about Thomas Sowell. So this is a racist projection thing on white individuals bringing up black topics. That's
Wayne, I want you to hear this one clip because this was Tavis Smiley on ABC News the other day. We're going to go to clip 28, and what he's talking about here, he's talking about the Martin Luther King speech, the famous "I Have a Dream." But there were two things that came out of that speech. Let's go to that clip.
The town of Chester's Mills, trapped under a dome. Nobody can get out. Nobody can get in.
Okay, we had the wrong clip. I'm sorry about that. But what was in that clip that I found really interesting, it was Martin Luther King also talked about things that have to happen in the black community, to make ourselves a better community. And one thing he pointed out, he said that at that time, 10% of the St. Louis population was black, but 58% of the crimes were committed by blacks. We have to do something about that. He understood that message. How important is it that others do?
Well, I mean, it's very important that everybody should understand that message. We have to take care of our communities, and we also have to, well, when I say police our communities, I want you to understand you can police our communities by just going through and making sure that people are okay without any type of weapon or threats or anything. However, when you come to Tavis Smiley is a person that just likes to hear self-talk because he will jump on Republicans and blame them for the reason why things are the way they are while giving Obama a pass until it hurts him. And then it's, well, I never liked Obama in the first place. So, I mean, you have to, the messenger. But the message is right. We have to take care of our communities first.
And of course, President Obama has weighed in on this as well, and made his comments with his now famous, when he walked into the White House press corps and said, "I was Trayvon Martin 35 years ago." We're gonna have to leave it right there, Wayne. Thank you so much for your valuable time. The insight was excellent.
Thank you so much.
That, of course, was Wayne Dupree, CEO and founder of NewsNinja2012.com. I'll just part with my thoughts on this. I saw the president speak the other day. I commented on it yesterday. I don't know if we were well served or not with it. I said that I think this is not about race. I don't think the Zimmerman trial was about race. And the fact that the civil rights machine keeps trumping this up as this some kind of race card and trying to stir up the pot just the way Wayne set it out for you right now, I think he's absolutely correct. That's what's happening here. This, in the end, ladies and gentlemen, is about money. All right, coming up in the next segment, we have Bill Donahue, president of the Catholic League. He's going to join us to discuss the Pope's comments on gay priests. I'm David Nelson. This is the Steve Malzberg Show.
Steve Malzberg Show.
Accurate portrayal of potential customer experience. Your experience will vary.
I was overwhelmed with credit card debt, losing sleep, worrying about money all the time. Creditors were hounding me night and day, and I didn't think there was any way I could ever get out of debt or get my life back. Then a friend told me about the Financial Solutions Group, and I found out all it took to get started was one free call. They really helped me get my life back. If you're like I was, you could see almost half or more of your credit card balances eliminated without the nightmare of bankruptcy or attorney's fees. And they didn't charge me any settlement fees till they reduced my debt. If you have more than $10,000 in credit card debt, this is your chance to get your life back. Make one quick free call today, right now, to see if you qualify. 1-800-477-6802. That's 1-800-477-6802. Again, 1-800-477-6802. 1-800-477-6802.
Bad credit card debt happens to good people. Credit card companies lure you in with low introductory rates or low minimum payments, and before you know it, you owe thousands of dollars in credit card debt. It has happened to millions of good people just like you. But here's the good news. Thanks to a powerful program now approved, anyone with $2,000 or more in credit card debt can cut their credit card payments up to half and even reduce or eliminate interest charges altogether. That's right. Our nationwide nonprofit program is helping U.S. residents cut their credit card payments. Call 800-613-3159 now. The call and information are free. We've helped over 500,000 people with their credit card debt, and now we can help you. Call 800-613-3159 to see how this powerful nonprofit program can work for you. Bad credit card debt happens to good people. Get free of credit card debt today. Call 800-613-3159. That's 800-613-3159. Again, 800-613-3159.
Hello and welcome to Newsmax Now Update. I'm John Bachman. Mideast peace talks resume again today in Washington, and Secretary of State John Kerry hosted a dinner Monday night for Israeli and Palestinian negotiators. This is the first step in the latest attempt to strike a peace accord, and all sides acknowledge that it will be extremely hard to find common ground for any kind of a deal. Still, Israel's chief negotiator spoke optimistically as she left for the talks from her hotel.
This is something that we all need in the region. It's the Israeli interest, it's the Palestinian interest, it's the interest of the international community, so let's do it.
Meanwhile, in the Palestinian-controlled Gaza Strip, dozens of protesters rallied against the peace talks. There's also been some resistance from Israeli settlers. And Pope Francis is reaching out to gay priests, and his comments are getting a lot of reaction. Speaking in Italian during his flight home from Brazil, the Pope told reporters that if someone is gay and he searches for the Lord and has goodwill, who am I to judge? The Pope still says it's a sin, but gay people should be a part of society. During the wide-ranging news conference, the Pope also spoke about the possibility of women being ordained as priests. Francis said the church has spoken and said no, but he added that he does think women should have more of a role in the church. And the latest revelations in the Anthony Weiner sexting scandal are costing him big in a new poll. Plus, there are new questions about the role Bill and Hillary Clinton could play in his struggling bid for the mayor of New York City. Anthony Weiner tried to stay on message as he arrived for a New York mayoral forum Monday. Meanwhile, in Washington, his wife, Huma Abedin, a former top aide to the ex-Secretary of State, was spotted having dinner with other Clinton advisors. Facing growing pressure to drop out of the race, the former congressman dodged a question about whether Bill and Hillary Clinton could force his hand.
I am not terribly interested in what people who are not voters in the city of New York have to say. I am focused like a laser beam on their interests. I'm focused like a laser beam on what they care about.
Meanwhile, a new poll shows Weiner has plummeted 10 points among Democratic hopefuls from first place all the way down to fourth, and 53% of likely Democratic voters would like to see him bow out of the race altogether. Even former Governor Eliot Spitzer, who's attempting his own political comeback after a sex scandal, said he would not back his fellow New Yorker. And explosions from a propane facility rocked a central Florida town. At least 7 people were injured in the blast. 3 are in critical condition, but amazingly, there were no fatalities. The blast started around 10:30 at the Blue Rhino propane facility, a company that exchanges and cleans propane tanks. The blast could be felt for miles in every direction. The cause of the fire is still undetermined. And when your Newsmax Now update continues, what does the Soviet Union have to teach us about Obamacare? Coming up, an exclusive interview with Steve Forbes, plus why he says the healthcare law is imploding. And a rare tropical storm makes landfall in Hawaii, the impact and why some people are able to make the most of it. Next.
Attention, if you've been classified as a high-risk driver due to DUI, DWI, or tickets for aggressive driving and are required to get expensive and hard-to-find SR22 auto insurance, then you must listen to this message because we can help. We're the largest insurance company in the U.S. specializing in SR22 auto insurance and focused on serving the needs of customers classified by the state as high-risk drivers. We help people get back on their feet by providing easy-to-get, low-cost SR22 insurance that anyone can afford. If you need SR22 auto insurance, or if you have it now and are paying too much, you need to call us today for your free quote at 800-836-4606. Our specialists are standing by waiting for your call. We understand people make mistakes, and we're here to help by making SR22 insurance easy to get and affordable for everyone. The call and quote are free. Call us now at 800-836-4606. That's 800-836-4606. Again, 800-836-4606. 606.
In 2013, half of your friends, family, and neighbors may lose their jobs, all while you are robbed of 90% of your life savings, investments, and home's value. Controversial economist Robert Wiedemer, who was the only expert to predict the recession, has released a startling video with shocking evidence that the powers that be have tried to ban. But that hasn't stopped 50 million people from getting the truth. Watch it at AftershockVideo.com. AftershockVideo.com. In 2013, half of your friends, family, and neighbors may lose their jobs, all while you are robbed of 90% of your life savings, investments, and home's value. Controversial economist Robert Wiedemer, who was the only expert to predict the recession, has released a startling video with shocking evidence that the powers that be have tried to ban. But that hasn't stopped 50 million people from getting the truth. Watch it at Aftershock911.com. Aftershock911.com.
And welcome back. Hawaii was getting hit by the remnants of Tropical Storm Flossie Monday night and Tuesday morning. The storm caused widespread power and water service outages to about 7,000 people on most of the islands. Maui and the Big Island of Hawaii seemed to get the worst of it, but it wasn't all bad. Some surfers took advantage of the big swells caused by the storm. And during an exclusive interview with Newsmax TV, Forbes magazine editor and former presidential candidate Steve Forbes tells Newsmax TV that Obamacare is imploding because it's simply unworkable.
It's the idea that if people with spreadsheets in Washington could run 20% of the economy, that idea should have been blasted by the fall of the Soviet Union.
And to see more of our exclusive interviews and content, stay with Newsmax.com. This has been your Newsmax Now update for July 30th. I'm John Bachman. Now here's the Steve Malzberg Show in New York.
Are you ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studios, this is the Steve Malzberg Show. Be a part of the action by calling 855-777-9660. That's 855-777-9660. Or email Steve at malzbergshow@newsmax.com. Here is Steve Malzberg.
Welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show. I'm David Nelson, filling in for Steve. Pope Francis really shocked the world in the last couple of days. He made a startling announcement, at least what I thought. Pope Francis said Monday that he will not judge gays and lesbians, including gay priests. Let's go to that clip.
Good morning, Natalie. You thought that was extraordinary. On his way back to Rome, the Pope spoke to reporters for an hour and 20 minutes in an unprecedented press conference, talking about a wide range of issues. He said he had never met anybody in the Vatican that had gay on their business card. And he said, if someone is gay and they are searching for the Lord, who am I to judge?
Quite a startling statement from the Pope, and he was on his way back to Rome from Brazil when he made that statement. I have to tell you, I've talked to a number of Catholics, at least even within my own family. I was born a Roman Catholic. They were really surprised. Some applauded it, some were against it. Let's find out from somebody who knows a lot more about it than I do, and that's Bill Donahue. He's the president of the Catholic League, and he joins us by phone. Bill, thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you, Dave.
Bill, you've seen the news. Was it a startling announcement, or am I making too much of this?
Well, technically speaking, there was nothing startling about it. On the other hand, I can understand why people are.
Well, we can end the segment right there, Bill. There was nothing startling about it. We could go on. We could talk sports. I'm only kidding, but go ahead.
Well, I mean, in terms of substance, there's nothing startling about it. In terms of style, there was a profound difference. Let me just take the first part. The Catholic Church has always taught that homosexuals and heterosexuals are equal in the eyes of God and in the eyes of the Catholic Church. They possess equal human dignity, and it is wrong to bash people whether they're gay or straight. It is also said that homosexuality, practicing homosexuals, along with premarital sex, extramarital sex, or adultery, these are sinful behaviors. But the status of being gay, no, there's nothing wrong with that. And in fact, as he said, a lot of people have left out and who are seeking the Lord and goodwill. There's a lot of people.
Well, you bring up an interesting point, Bill. But if somebody is a gay individual, a homosexual,
right,
and they are gay, is it what happens when they commit the act? do they fall out of the grace of God at that point, or are they still okay?
Yeah, they have the exact same status of a heterosexual. Sexual orientation, according to the Catholic Church, is morally irrelevant. It didn't begin with Francis on the plane. The Catholic Church has always taught that one sexual orientation is morally irrelevant. Now, if you're straight and you're having an adulterous affair, that's a problem. If you're a homosexual and you're sexually active, that's a problem. But the status of being a homosexual or the status of being a heterosexual is basically a non-starter. It means nothing.
So a monogamous relationship, if you're a homosexual, is perfectly acceptable to the Catholic Church.
Catholic Church teaches that the only sexual expression that is morally acceptable is between a man and a woman in the institution of marriage.
But that's where it gets very, very confusing, Bill, because you're making that one statement, and then on the other hand, it's okay to be a homosexual. I mean, it's one way or the other.
No, if you say a person is straight and he is engaged in an adulterous relationship, like
okay, but that's different than what I'm saying right now. I'm confused. You talk. You're the expert.
Well, no. What I'm simply saying is that whether you happen to be inclined toward people of the same sex or the opposite sex is morally irrelevant. If, however, you're engaged in sexual practices outside of the institution of marriage, then that is sinful behavior.
The rhetoric that I'm hearing from the Catholic Church at this point, to me, as a longtime Catholic, it seems to have changed dramatically. You say that it's not a big deal. You're saying the style is maybe a big deal. It's very new to me, and it wasn't that way certainly when I grew up. It was at least an implied sin. And I guess my question and what I'm trying to lead up to, there seems to be a changing face for the Catholic Church, and I'm just wondering, we seem to be having a changing face within the United States. The Supreme Court is ruled on certain issues. Now it's over to the states. One by one, state by state, gay marriage is going to be accepted. Now, could there ever be a time within the Catholic community where you would accept a gay marriage?
That will never happen, any more than will happen.
Why is that?
Well, because there's only two people in the history of the world who could ever create a family, and that's one man and one woman. The purpose of marriage is procreation, period. That idea, by the way, comes from
But what do you say to a couple? What do you say to a couple that can't have a child?
Well, they certainly are. They're not acting sinfully. No one's ever made that argument. What we're saying is that they are ready substitutes. If something happens to parents who have children and they get killed or they get divorced or something dramatic happens to them, they have ready substitutes. You could have the man takes the role of the father, the woman takes the role of the mother.
It's still, I guess the issue
By the way, Dave, let's keep in mind, this idea is not a freak. We got this idea of marriage being functionally related to the family and morally so from our Jewish brothers and sisters. That idea comes out of Judaism. Muslims believe the same thing. Indeed, all world religions are either opposed to same-sex marriage or they're agnostic, which is to say they don't say anything about it. You can't name for me a single religion in the history of the world, any major religion certainly, which has ever said that it's okay for two men to get married. This idea is one of the most bizarre ideas in history. The fact that we have 4 or 5 states, and about 37, by the way, which have their own state constitutions against gay marriage. We get caught up in this wave of thinking.
Well, I'm wondering if that wave of thinking is actually, it invaded the Catholic Church. But let me go to another issue, because it also brings us, to priests. Now, what if a priest is a homosexual?
Nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that, okay.
Absolutely nothing wrong with it.
All right, as long as he's celibate.
That's exactly the point.
So that's the point here. So you can be a homosexual as long as you're celibate. That's where you cross the line. I got one last thing before I let you go, and this is for me. It has nothing to do with the topic that we're talking about. You're familiar with indulgences, correct?
Sure.
And when I grew up, and I've always wanted to, now I've got an expert on air, and I can finally find out the answer, because it really threw me off when I was a kid. I remember reading these indulgences, and indulgences were prayers that I found somewhere in the Bible. And if I understand it correctly, you said an indulgence, which was a prayer, and that was good to help get somebody out of purgatory. Do I have that correct?
Yes.
All right. Here's my question. I remember reading in the Bible, or at least the manuscript that I had, where I had an indulgence prayer, and it would say, at the bottom of the prayer, it would say, this prayer is worth 7 years, 6 months out of purgatory. Who came up with that number?
I'm laughing because, I'm not going to lie to you and say Bill Donahue knows everything about it. I have no idea where that
That's
idea
what
came
I
from.
want to know. It drove me nuts for years.
Dave, remember, there are man-made rules in the Catholic Church, which are those rules such as celibacy. The first 1,000 years it was optional whether you wanted to get married or not. They could change that tomorrow.
That might have been a better way to go.
but then there's what's called dogma, such as 3 persons in one, all right, the Blessed Trinity. That's not something that's man-made. That's found in Scripture. That which is taught by Jesus cannot be changed. But that which is not taught by Jesus, which is a house rule like no meat on Friday.
I have a feeling Jesus Christ did not come up with 7 years, 6 months. It's been fun talking to you, Bill. Thank you so much.
I couldn't agree with you more. I still want to find out who that guy was.
That's what I want to know, too. We'll have you back, and you can tell us. I want you to go out and research it. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
That, of course, was Bill Donahue, president of the Catholic League. All right, coming up next, we have Congressman Tom Price of Georgia. He's going to join us to discuss his new bill, Keep the IRS Off Your Health Care Act, which is up for debate in Congress this week. I'm David Nelson. This is the Steve Malzberg Show.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
If you or someone you love is struggling with addiction to alcohol or drugs, then you must listen to this message because there is hope. No matter what addiction you or your loved one is coping with, you are just one phone call away from real help. Recovery Hotline makes the healing process simple and affordable by matching people to fully certified and experienced inpatient facilities that are right for their personal situations. Call 800-668-1286 now. Don't wait another day. Money does not have to be an issue. Most insurance is accepted. Just call 800-668-1286 today. Recovery Hotline's mission is to help you or someone you love begin the healing process and get back a healthy and sober life. And we can even help with family interventions and travel arrangements. One phone call is all it takes to get back the life you or your loved one deserves. The call is free. The help is real. Call 800-668-1286. That's 800-668-1286. 800-668-1286. Again, 800-668-1286.
Newsmax Magazine is proud to present a special tribute to our 40th president, Ronald Reagan. It's a very special documentary and commemorative issue of Newsmax Magazine celebrating the centennial of President Reagan's birth. First, here's a video clip from the award-winning documentary, Rendezvous with Destiny.
We're in the midst of a springtime of hope for America.
You ain't seen nothing yet.
Impulses of an evil empire.
Tear down this wall.
I believe that together we can keep this rendezvous with destiny.
In the next several minutes, you will learn things about President Ronald Reagan that you've never seen, heard, or read before. Welcome to today's special Newsmax event celebrating the life and legacy of President Reagan. During this historic presentation, we will commemorate President Reagan's storied life. We'll revisit his 2 terms in office and recollect his proudest achievements and greatest challenges. Ronald Reagan's life reads like a fairy tale of success stories. He was an accomplished athlete, an honored veteran, a famous actor, the governor of California, and of course, our nation's 40th president.
He called himself a citizen politician and only entered politics when he warned government was gaining too much power. By then he was age 54. With a successful career behind him. Twice elected President of the United States, Ronald Wilson Reagan was a contradiction to some. Once a Democrat, then a Republican. A champion of smaller government whose own government grew. A fiscal conservative who failed to balance the budget. His critics mistook his affability for weakness, but behind the smile and the charm existed an extraordinary leader with unique skills and bold and revolutionary ideas.
We only had time to share just a few of the top defining moments in Ronald Reagan's presidency, but you'll get to see them all in Rendezvous with Destiny. By the way, the president's close relationship with the Pope is especially fascinating. You'll also learn how dealing with an alcoholic father helped shape Reagan's ability to negotiate. And if you ever wondered what the leader of the free world likes to get for the holidays, well, you'll find that out as well. So let's review today. In this free offer, we are sending you a copy of Ronald Reagan, Rendezvous with Destiny, and the collector's limited edition of our issue commemorating the 100th anniversary of President Reagan's birth.
Right now, when you subscribe to Newsmax magazine, you can own both the DVD and receive the special Reagan 100th birthday commemorative edition. That's $25 in bonus gifts when you subscribe. Go to newsmax.com/Reagan13 to subscribe today. Join the millions who read Newsmax magazine every month.
Breaking news and breaking hearts. Aww. This is the Steve Malzberg Show.
Welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show. I'm David Nelson. We've been talking about Obamacare for, 2-3 years now, and we're still not there yet. They've punted on the employee mandate. That's moved. The big thing of all this is that the IRS is going to administrate this plan, and some like Max Baucus have actually called this a train wreck. So let's find out about it. Let's talk to Congressman Tom Price of Georgia. He joins us to discuss this new bill, Keep the IRS Off Your Health Care Act. What are we talking about?
Hey, Dave, don't you think it's a good idea?
I think it's a great idea. Walk me through it.
Thanks so much. Good to be on with you. I was sitting there in one of the hearings in the Ways and Means Committee when the IRS was before us and revealing this incredible violation of the public trust in targeting tax-exempt groups and then leaking their donors and then targeting their donors for audits. And it hit me that the IRS is the enforcement arm for Obamacare, for the Affordable Care Act, and so that doesn't. I knew that didn't make any sense when they instituted it, but at this point, the IRS, the Internal Revenue Service, has violated any trust it ever had with the American people. So I introduced a bill, H.R. 2009, that says the IRS may not participate in any enforcement or implementation of the Affordable Care Act of Obamacare. We're going to vote on that on the floor of the House this week. I'm excited by the almost 140 co-sponsors that we've got, and I'm calling on the Democrats who have voiced their concerns about this proposal or this portion of the law as well to join us and vote for H.R. 2009.
Hey, Tom, I want you to listen to this very short clip. It's Max Baucus talking about the train wreck. Let's go to that clip right now.
Small businesses have no idea what to do, what to expect. They don't know what affordability rules are. They don't know when penalties may apply. They just don't know. People are going to be really confused. I tell you, I just see a huge train wreck coming down. And you and I have discussed this many times, and I don't see any results yet. I just see a huge train wreck.
Tom, is he right?
Well, absolutely, it's right. And the important aspect of that quote is that this is Max Baucus, who was one of the primary architects.
I know, it's frightening, isn't it?
Yeah, as a Democrat senator, and he recognizes that this isn't ready for prime time, and the administration has. They kind of they provide these little waivers, and then they do big ones with blog posts, the employer mandate delay that you noted. But we believe that it's appropriate to delay it for employers. Yes, it's also appropriate to delay it for the American people, and we're calling on the administration to delay all aspects of Obamacare, all aspects of the Affordable Care Act for at least a year. There's no reason that we ought to put Washington in charge of our health care. That's something as personal and intimate as the kinds of decisions that you and every other American make for your health care. The federal government ought not be involved in knowing and dictating to you exactly what you must do.
Well, I've said it in the past. My confidence is very low given the antics that we've seen come out of the IRS. But there's been two breaking things that have happened recently, two stories that I've read. I'd like to get your viewpoint on it. One, we all know about the tragic affair going on in Detroit, the bankruptcy that's been taking place there. And now there is some talk of, I believe, city workers, and correct me if I'm wrong on any of this, because I could very well be, that city workers, their pension plans, which afford health care far better than anything Obamacare could do, that they may be forced into Obamacare. They're fighting that. Sure. That's number one. The number two, the thing I found really interesting is there's an article out there, and it's starting to hit the press, that federal employees, especially people that work for congressmen and senators, are very upset because they may end up on Obamacare. And they're trying to figure out some end around for these people. Is that right?
Well, both of those points are fascinating. The first one about the pension for union workers. James, no less a figure than James Hoffa, the president of the Teamsters Union, sent a letter to Harry Reid and Nancy Pelosi saying
these are the same people that backed President Obama in the first place. Am I correct?
Exactly.
Okay.
So and strongly and backed this law. And this letter said explicitly, and then they released it publicly, said explicitly, look, this isn't what you told us it was going to be, this being Obamacare. This isn't what you sold it. You sold us a bill of goods. We want it changed. We supported you. We put you in office. Now change it. Basically, that's what the letter said. So all sorts of folks on the other side who were supportive of this law are recognizing that it's a train wreck, as Max Baucus says. The second issue, the federal employees, when we were debating this in 2009 and 2010, Republicans, I was one of them, said, look, if we're going to force the American people into these exchanges, then the least we can do is have members of Congress have to participate in the exchange. And the Democrats fought it, and they fought it, and they fought it. And then at the very end, in the Senate, they actually accepted that amendment. It was from Chuck Grassley, Republican senator from Iowa. And they expanded it to include not just members of Congress, but our official staff. So we have to participate come January 1 in the exchanges, which I think is perfectly appropriate, because if the American people are going to be subject to all of this nonsense, then we ought to be as well. I promise you that will be a huge impetus for members of Congress on both sides of the aisle, Republican and Democrat, to change this law so we move toward patient-centered health care, which means patients and families and doctors making medical decisions, not Washington, D.C.
I'm curious to see how that turns out, Tom, but I want you to take off your congressman hat for a second. You are also a physician. Walk me through this law from a physician's eyes. What do doctors think of this bill?
Well, I appreciate that. I spent 20 years taking care of patients before I came to Congress, and I get contacted every single day by former colleagues and other physicians across this country who are so concerned about their inability to currently take care of their patients in the way that they deem fit, most appropriate, and the understanding that they have and appreciation that they have that this law will make it virtually impossible for them to do what they believe they need to do for their patients. Now, why do I say that? Well, there are all sorts of things in the law, including the Independent Payment Advisory Board, which is this panel that will dictate to physicians what they may be paid for prospectively, but also retrospectively. So the federal government will come in and say to Dr. Smith, you did this to Mrs. Jones. We don't believe that was necessary, after the fact, and then take that money back from Dr. Smith. That puts a chilling effect on that physician-patient relationship. And I've had so many physicians, and there was an article in the Wall Street Journal yesterday that on the front page that highlighted the number of physicians who are saying, we're not going to be able to continue to practice medicine if this goes into effect. Losing the talent and the treasure of this country that ought to be at the prime of their career taking care of patients, and we're kicking them out the door.
It's fascinating.
Take care.
That, of course, was Congressman Tom Wright of Georgia, and he was talking about the IRS. He wants to keep the IRS off your Health Care Act. We'll see what happens with that. You know, this is bad for kids as well, because this is a transfer of wealth from our kids to the older population or those who can't afford health insurance. I'm certainly opposed to that. I'm sure if we talk to college seniors about that, they don't like it either. All right. I'm David Nelson. This is the Steve Malzberg Show.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Obama wants your money, and he's determined to get it. He wants your money to buy off unions, his Wall Street cronies, and to expand the Obama welfare nation. Well, Swiss America is determined to stop him from stealing your money. They want to send you an award-winning film, I Want Your Money, on DVD that exposes his plan. It'll help keep the government's hands off your money using gold, silver, and other hard asset strategies to protect your hard-earned money. Call today and request the DVD, I Want Your Money, normally $19.95, yours absolutely free. Let Swiss America show you how to use gold, silver, and other hard assets to protect your hard-earned money. Call now. 800-978-3907. 800-978-3907. Call Swiss America right now. Learn all about investing in gold. 800-978-3907. That's 800-978-3907. Call right now.
Guys, you've heard about Ageless Male, the natural supplement that helps boost testosterone levels within normal, healthy ranges. But now, the best testosterone product is even better. New and improved Ageless Male can help you feel more like you used to in your active life and in your romantic life. Because our upgraded formula has been clinically shown to increase your drive, desire, and performance. That's right, guys. Ageless Male has been clinically shown to boost performance. Cancel your plans this weekend. You're staying in. If you're ready to recapture the drive from your youth, now is the time to try Ageless Male because it's available risk-free. But you must call now. Just call 1-800-460-9790. Be the guy you used to be. Just call 1-800-460-9790. 1-800-460-9790. 1-800-460-9790.
Heart disease is the biggest killer disease in America, and this doesn't surprise me. We are addicted to starches, sugars, fatty meats, and salt. People who live in countries with little heart disease eat very differently. One way some people stay heart healthy is by following what is known as the caveman or Stonehenge diet, so named because of its similarity to the way our prehistoric ancestors ate. People who follow this type of diet live off local fruits and root vegetables and get their protein mostly from fish and wild game they shoot themselves. Now, since most of us don't hunt or fish for all our protein, here are some simple tips on how you can start to eat like a caveman, modern day style. First, fill up on fruits and vegetables. Eat them first and you'll be less hungry. Feast on fish, which is rich in nutrients but not in calories. Choose fatty fish like mackerel, herring, sardines, and salmon, which are rich in heart-healthy omega-3 fatty acids. Get out and go for a walk. Remember, our ancestors were hunters and gatherers, so they didn't spend their time sitting in front of a TV or computer all day. If you live more like a caveman or a cave woman, your heart will love you for it. I'm Dr. Chauncey Crandall, and thank you for watching this Heart Health Minute. Remember, it's never too late to prevent or reverse heart disease. Right now, I invite you to discover your own risk for heart disease or even a heart attack by taking my quick, free online quiz at www.simplehearttest.com.
Where can you find the Steve Malzberg Show? Everywhere. From your smartphone to satellite radio to Newsmax Live TV to Roku, we have you covered. Here is Steve Malzberg.
Welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show. I'm David Nelson. I'm filling in for Steve today. We've all seen the NSA story unfold when Eric Snowden, when it first cropped up in The Guardian and we saw that riveting tape and some of the comments he made. I want you to just take a look at this short clip. Let's go to clip 23.
desk certainly had the authorities to wiretap anyone from you or your accountant to a federal judge to even the president if I had a personal email.
And that top-level national security officials like James Clapper really did get caught red-handed lying to the American Congress, which everyone now acknowledges, about what the NSA is doing. And it's amazing that he not only hasn't been prosecuted but still has his job. The NSA has trillions of telephone calls and emails in their databases.
It's pretty frightening, really, for all of us, and we're just learning about this. So let's talk to an expert. We're going to bring on Aaliyah Sternstein. She's a senior correspondent with nextgov.com, and she works in cybersecurity and homeland security. Aaliyah, thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you for having me.
Aaliyah, let me get this straight. You have a low-level NSA contractor like Snowden. We find out that the NSA has been gathering information on our phone calls for literally years. Then we find out that the NSA has been spying on the EU. That has a lot of people pissed off. And now, in your recent article, you talk about that they're building a new facility 7 times bigger than the Pentagon. What am I supposed to say to that?
Well, I don't know. That's the whole issue with this project is that it's unclear what's in there. This thing is actually 15 times the size of MetLife Stadium, and the builder of this compound compares it to running a municipality. There will be supercomputers inside to crunch on all that data that you just described that is coming in to the United States, and so they're breaking codes, and then they have to analyze that information, the so-called connected dots.
Well, the whole concept of what they do is fascinating. It's almost like literally a James Bond movie. Now, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong on any of this, that you spoke with a Harvey Davis, and he seems to be one of the top National Security Agency officials. He's in charge of putting this all together, isn't he?
Yes, he is. He puts together the data centers that NSA runs worldwide, and actually there's going to be a sister data center munching on this data in Fort Meade in Maryland, and they all kind of serve as backups. So this data is located. I mean,
now here's what I don't understand, and I got this again from your article. Apparently, Harvey Davis gave an interview to government executive. I'm not sure if that's a magazine or just a website. And for me, that seems kind of odd. Aren't they supposed to keep secrets?
Well, that's my parent publication, Government Executive. Yes, they gave me an hour with this man. He's a good, down-to-earth man, just like he says, keeping his head down, doing his construction work, just brick and mortar. Again, this was coming out during the time of Snowden, so they wanted to show the human side of NSA. As still, I would ask, what's in there? Why is it so big? The requirements for that.
Well, what did he say? I mean, we're talking about 7 times the size of the Pentagon. I mean, that's enormous. What could possibly be in there? How many employees will actually end up working there?
Just 130. They are not the analysts. This is.
Could you say that figure one more time? How many?
Is it about 130, 150?
150? I don't understand that. You're saying 150 are going to be working in a facility that is 7 times larger than the Pentagon?
Makes you think what else is in there, right?
So it's nothing but computers. It's just machines. And a couple of guys oiling the machines now and then. They don't even need us anymore.
Yeah.
The machines can spy on themselves. Here's a question that I had, and maybe you could answer this. We had the sequester, that really started at the beginning this year, and that was really a cut to a lot of federal programs. It's cut to the military. I know, in fact, that this is true because my son serves in the military in Germany. He's seeing cutbacks over there. What about the NSA? Are they seeing any cuts at all, or are they just full steam ahead?
Yeah, no, it's across the board cuts. This Harvey Davis that you mentioned was in charge of cutting something like $100 million off the price of this $1.2 billion project. And what he did was just hold the contractors down to their promises and say, you can't change this contract. We are not dragging it out. You do what you told us we're going to do and finish it on time.
One of the interesting things that I read in your article, and if I'm incorrect in this, please help me out here. I believe that Harvey Davis made it a real point when he put this project together. He really focuses on helping disabled people. Is that correct?
Yes. He used to be an HR official, and when he was doing that about a decade ago, he realized, there's this untapped population that really wants to work, that doesn't want to go home, and they're just as able to do the kind of tasks that NSA needs. We're talking not just the construction people, but also the computer programmers. And so he's brought that appreciation with him to this job. And now that he's in an even higher position, it makes his impact, even his footprint, even larger on the organization. So they have agreements with nonprofits that place individuals with disabilities in government and private sector jobs, and he pulls in about 200 individuals with disabilities into the NSA workforce a year just from one organization. And he just...
I think that's wonderful. This may be out of your wheelhouse and maybe an inappropriate question, but some have pointed out that maybe it would be better if, rather than the NSA storing this information, because obviously emails and phone calls, they've got to go through the telephone companies first. And I believe there are secured areas of every Verizon site, every AT&T site, where the information goes through first, and I believe it's flagged there and it's passed on to the NSA. Why not have a system where these private contractors, Verizon, AT&T, and others, store the information there, and then when the NSA can go to Congress or a court order and say, we have a valid need, we need that information, they grab the information then? Because as you heard in that clip, Eric Snowden says that all he needs is an email address or a phone number, and he can get into anybody's information, and that included the president.
Yeah, well, my understanding is the thinking is accumulate this information in mass. Those dots that need to be connected are tiny. They're needles in the haystack, and you don't know the information that could lead to Osama bin Laden unless you have it all in front of you and can analyze it. So that's their thinking. Definitely privacy advocates have concerns and see the data collection as excessive. And you're right. It's been said that the security controls just aren't there to prevent insiders like Snowden or Manning.
It just seems like the potential for abuse here is
Right.
very high. When you spoke to Harvey Davis, first of all, how close are they to completing this site?
It's ready to be operative this fall.
Did he mention anything else that he's going? What's next for Harvey? Another data site, like in Alaska, something even bigger?
Well, he mentioned Germany. He's working on projects there. One of their big ones is the Maryland sister data center just broke ground in the spring.
Well, he certainly is working for the right for the right people. Aaliyah, it's a fascinating story. I have a feeling the NSA story is going to be with us for some time. We're going to be talking about it, so we'll have you back again real soon.
Oh, thank you very much. Have a great evening. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That, of course, was Aaliyah Sternstein. She's a senior correspondent with nextgov.com. I don't even know what to say about that. 7 times bigger than the Pentagon. The oddest thing in that interview, didn't anybody catch on? She said 130 people are working in a facility that large. That's staggering to me. I would have thought that the number would have been thousands, perhaps even 10,000 in a facility that big. I'm not even sure how many people work in the Pentagon. And I have to take issue with her on a couple of things. I think the information that Snowden gave, there's been other confirmation out there that if you have access to this information, maybe you need a court order to actually use the information. I understand that's correct, but the potential for any low-level security contractor or NSA employee to just take a peek. I mean, there's been convictions over this where they were listening to the phone calls between our servicemen in Afghanistan and their girlfriends back here in the States just for fun. If they can do it, they will do it. All right, enough about that. All right, coming up next, we're going to have John Fund, contributor. He's a Newsmax contributor. John, of course, is going to discuss Hillary Clinton's Hollywood debut. We're going to find out about that. I'm David Nelson. This is the Steve Malzberg Show.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Hey guys, do you know your testosterone level? You should. Each year, declining testosterone robs more of your energy, drive, motivation, and even your ability to perform in bed. Take control of your testosterone today. Write this number down because Progene, the leader in dual-action testosterone supplements, is now giving you a free supply if you call today at 800-592-4834. If you'd like to feel closer to 20 than 40 and get back that energy, drive, and confidence, call now to try Progene risk-free. Don't believe us? We'll even prove it works. Ask about our at-home testosterone test kits and see for yourself what Progene can do for you. Be one of the next 100 callers. We'll triple your order and send you a full 1-month supply of Progene for free. A $70 value for only the cost of shipping and handling. Call 800-592-4834 for details. Know your level and kick your drive back into gear with Progene. Call 800-592-4834. That's 800-592-4834. Again, 800-592-4834.
Meet Jim. Like many of us, Jim enjoys a busy life. Between work, family, and friends, his days zip along. And Jim has the energy to tackle almost anything. But lately, Jim's get up and go has literally taken on a new meaning. Jim's always put focus on a full night's sleep, but it seems like these days, he's up and down to go to the bathroom so many times he can barely wake up in the morning. His prostate concerns have him sad, tired, and worried. Activities that were once enjoyable now seem like a chore for Jim. His golf game is at the mercy of his bathroom schedule. Family outings are planned around it too. Jim even has difficulty going to the bathroom. He's tried so many prostate remedies he can't keep them straight, and nothing ever seems to help. Then Jim found out about Prostate Revive, the all-natural dietary supplement specifically formulated for men, targeted towards improving and sustaining normal prostate function. Prostate Revive includes 15 super ingredients never combined before, including saw palmetto extract, beta-cytosterol, pomegranate fruit extract, selenium, and other high-quality nutrients. These targeted and all-natural ingredients promote healthy urinary flow and optimal prostate health. And the best part is, Prostate Revive was developed by a renowned medical doctor. Dr. David Brownstein personally formulated Prostate Revive with one goal in mind: to promote a healthy prostate gland. Thanks to Prostate Revive, Jim's got his life back. He gets a full night's sleep every night, and his friends and his wife can't believe he's the same guy. He has his old energy back, and no one has to wait for him. He doesn't even think about his prostate concerns anymore. Visit MedicSelect.com to take back your nights and improve your quality of life with Prostate Revive.
Judging from everything you hear, you think all cholesterol is bad, but that's not really true. You need a certain amount of cholesterol to maintain good health. The problem is that too much cholesterol in your blood contributes to a plaque, a fatty substance that narrows the coronary arteries that feed blood flow to your heart. Picture your coronary arteries as a 4-lane highway. If one lane becomes blocked, traffic still flows well. 2 lanes, no major problem. But if a 3rd lane becomes blocked, that spells trouble. It's the same way with your coronary arteries. And when plaque slows their blood flow to your heart, this can even cause a heart attack. The good news is that when it comes to cholesterol, lifestyle changes can pay off big time. Even a small reduction in plaque can be like opening up another highway lane. Suddenly, blood flow that was stalled can go forward again. Changing your lifestyle does not have to be hard. And in fact, here are 3 ways to help you start lowering your cholesterol. Snack on nuts. Nuts are probably one of the easiest and tastiest ways to lower cholesterol. Walnuts and almonds are among the best. Bulk up your diet with fiber. Choose whole fruits instead of a fruit juice, brown rice instead of white, and if you're eating a baked potato, be sure to leave the skin on. Choose fish. Fish contains cholesterol-fighting omega-3 fatty acids. I'm Dr. Chauncey Crandall, and thanks for watching this Heart Health Minute. Remember, it's never too late to prevent or reverse heart disease. Right now, I invite you to discover your own risk for heart disease or even a heart attack by taking my quick, free online quiz at www.simplehearttest.com.
The Steve Malzberg Show is just a bit different from the other radio shows. We have TV cameras. Watch the show at newsmax.com or listen on your favorite radio station. Here's Steve Malzberg.
Welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show. I'm David Nelson. Well, CNN just announced that they were putting out a series of film projects based on Hillary Clinton. And now that follows, of course, an NBC announcement. All this has been unfolding, and I guess big question I'm going to have for my next guest is really, what does this mean for Hillary in the 2016 election? So let's find out. We have John Fund on the phone. He's a Newsmax contributor. John, welcome. Thank you so much for calling in.
Thank you, David.
John, I read your column in the National Review Online. It was fascinating. So walk me through this thought process here. So CNN is piling on, NBC is piling on. What do you think this all means for her, especially going forward with an election coming up in a few years?
Well, this means there are 3 films going to be out on Hillary before the 2016 election: NBC, CNN, and a Hollywood studio. I think this is suck-up time. I mean, Hollywood hearts Hillary. And I think that they are getting in under the wire because before she formally announces, they can run anything they wish and not run into the Federal Election Commission's equal
Yeah, John,
time.
could you elaborate on that, why that's so important? Because after she announces, this becomes more difficult.
Well, it becomes an in-kind contribution. In other words, if I'm making a movie about you, that has monetary worth. And I may not be giving you money, but I'm giving you something better than money. I'm giving you exposure. So before she formally announces, they can show the movie and not have legal implications. Afterwards, it becomes much more dicey.
One of the things you pointed out in your article is you point out that the NBC series is only going to cover her life from the Monica Lewinsky affair, I guess, up till the present. What about the CNN and the Hollywood release?
Well, the CNN effort is a documentary. And as far as I'm concerned, it covers her whole life, but it's by a left-wing director. I know the guy. I like him. Skilled filmmaker. He won the Academy Award for Best Documentary in 2010. His name is Charles Ferguson, I'm sorry. But he's a lefty. I mean, I've talked to him. I mean, he's hard left.
Do you think this will be an honest portrayal, any of these?
Well, I think we have to raise the issue. Because, look, we're used to liberal bias in the media, but this is a presidential election, and I think that there is some duty incumbent upon people to recognize reality. For example, let's take the Rodham film, which is about Hillary Clinton's time as a young 26-year-old in the Nixon House Impeachment Committee. Exciting times. She met Bill Clinton around the same time. It's a good basis for a movie. But the people who've seen the script say it forgets one thing. She was fired from the House Impeachment Committee for telling lies and breaking all kinds of rules, and her boss, a lifelong Democrat, can't stand her and says she's not to be trusted. Will that be in the movie? I mean, if you're going to make a movie about her time at the House Impeachment Committee, I hope that you would discuss her being fired, but apparently not.
You know, it's interesting that when you point out that the NBC has decided to go from the Monica Lewinsky on, and that avoids all these previous scandals. Do you think that was a deliberate effort on their part?
Well, it's sort of as if somebody were making a movie of my life, and I did stupid things as a teenager. I did stupid things as a young adult. Didn't make the right career choices at first. So they decide, just as I'm getting my act together, that the film begins. I don't think that's right. So in the Hillary's case, they're taking away the first 51 years of her life, so we don't get to learn anything about Whitewater, Travelgate, Filegate, Healthcare Task Force Gate, Billing Records Gate. I mean, you name the gates. I mean, the first 4 years of the Clinton administration was one special prosecutor appointed by a Democratic Attorney General after another, many of them involving her.
Well, if NBC decides to do a film on me, it's going to be very easy for them because they're only going to be able to go back to last week. I can't cover anything prior to last week because I'm out of here if that happens.
You don't recall.
I don't recall anything. I'll have to take the fifth. But let me bring you to something a little bit away from the film, but it does relate to Hillary. We've all witnessed, the Weiner affair that's been taking place. It was a very comical cover of the New Yorker, I believe, had Weiner straddling the Empire State Building. Of course, that was a very graphic image. But it seems I've read an article
he's become the new King Kong.
That I guess so. But I did read an article that both Hillary and Bill are very upset at any comparison between Anthony Weiner, this affair that's going on here, and the scandal that's erupted here, and his election possibilities, and Bill and Hillary back when the Monica Lewinsky affair came out. Now, I think maybe Anthony Weiner's being over-penalized. He's guilty of maybe using a highly technical he's using better technology than Bill had back then. He didn't have sex with anybody. Do you think this argument is fair?
Look, let's examine some of the differences really between Bill and Anthony Weiner. Anthony Weiner had shame. He resigned. He had shame. Bill has no shame. I'm just going to barrel on through. They're never going to get me. I'm the road runner. They're Wile E. Coyote.
Are you auditioning for the role of Bill, John? Am I sensing that?
I can't possibly live up to that. I don't have the stamina.
What about? Well, let's see. We know that Diane Lane is going to play Hillary in at least one of these movies. Who are they thinking about for Bill?
Well, I think Billy Bob Thornton would be great. Don't you think?
I was thinking of Billy Bob, but I still remember that movie Primary Colors with John Travolta, and I got to tell you, he was pretty believable in that role.
Yeah, but Travolta's a little too old for the part now.
I guess that. Well, yeah, going back to the Monica. Yeah, I guess that would play. He could play Bill now. He wouldn't be able to play him back then. What about the CNN series?
Well, again, I think CNN is playing it dangerously close to controversy about whether or not its news division and its entertainment division is going to be taking precedence in that. I mean, if it's a news division project, it's not going to be financially as viable because it's going to have to be, on the one hand and on the other hand. If it's entertainment, because remember, this is going to be shown in theaters first. It'll be CNN films in theater, and then it goes to the network.
I didn't realize that. So it's going to actually show as a theatrical release and then cross over to television.
And if you're doing that, then you're talking box office as your primary goal. And box office means you got to have a show. And, I think getting down in the muck and weeds of Hillary's many scandals, I think it would be valuable journalism. I'm not sure how it would play. I think they'd lean towards a more heroic portrayal of her.
One last thing on this, because all of this brings up, the memory of CBS's when they ran the Reagans, a TV movie that aired on CBS, and there was a lot of controversy back then. Are there any parallels here between the two?
Yeah, it was a piece of swarmy, slutty fiction. I mean, the plot line of the Reagans, which was optioned by CBS in 2003, basically the plot line was President Fuddy Duddy is nominated by Mommy Dearest. I mean, it was awful.
It was pretty awful. I was actually on Bill O'Reilly's show to discuss the financial implications. He thought it was going to put CBS under. I said the ratings will probably go up.
Well, CBS was smart. They dumped it. In fact, Les Moonves, the president of CBS, said, this is not the film we ordered, and it's a moral issue. We can't run this film. Well, what did CBS do? They dumped it in the lap of Showtime, which is their cable TV outlet. Well, guess who at Showtime green-lighted the film to show on Showtime, making almost no changes? It was a guy named Greenblatt, Bob Greenblatt. And he said, we're only going to make one change. We'll cut out one line in which Reagan basically says, I'm glad the gays are dying of AIDS, which, of course, is not true. And biographers have disputed that.
Well, we're going to have to see how this all...
But you know what?
Go ahead.
Guess what? Greenblatt is now at NBC. He optioned this Hillary series.
Oh, this is all making so much sense, John. Thank you so much for being with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
That, of course, was John Fund, Newsmax contributor. This is a fascinating story, really. And we'll see. I forget what the hard date is, but there is a point when you cannot go beyond. Otherwise, this will be a campaign contribution. Coming up next, we're going to have Brandon Wade. He's founder and CEO of SeekingArrangement.com. We're going to talk about Wiener some more. You're listening to The Steve Malzberg Show. I'm David Nelson.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
If your prostate is giving you problems and your doc says it's just part of getting older, be wary. Renowned physician and author Dr. David Brownstein thinks this is baloney. He's discovered a link between aging and prostate and believes prostate concerns do not have to be an inevitable part of aging. That's why he created Prostate Revive.
Hi, I'm Dr. David Brownstein. I personally formulated Prostate Revive to include the most essential natural ingredients available to help promote a healthy prostate gland and optimal urinary function.
The producers of Dr. Brownstein's Prostate Revive are so thrilled with the positive feedback from satisfied customers that for a limited time, they are willing to send you your first month's supply free. Plus, call now and you'll also receive Dr. Brownstein's special report, A Doctor's Guide to a Healthy Prostate. For details on getting your free bottle, call 1-800-596-REVIVE. That's 1-800-596-REVIVE. Take control with Prostate Revive. Call now while supplies last to claim your risk-free bottle at 1-800-596-REVIVE.
Do you owe the IRS? Do you have unfiled tax returns? Have you received a wage garnishment or bank levy? Maybe a lien has been filed against you. OMG Tax can help you with all your IRS tax problems. Don't wait another second. Take action now. Call my team at OMG Tax. Honest and professional, we don't make false promises. If you owe back taxes, or if the IRS is garnishing your paycheck, you need help now. OMG Tax can help you get your life back to normal. If you're serious about handling your tax matter, call OMG Tax now and get the peace of mind you deserve. Don't let the IRS take your next paycheck. Stop waiting and call our team at OMG Tax. OMG Tax has a straightforward, no-nonsense approach and has helped many Americans resolve their IRS nightmare. Call OMG Tax now.
Call 1-800-255-6485. That's 1-800-255-6485. 800-255-6485.
Hello and welcome to Newsmax Now Update. I'm John Bachman. Mideast peace talks resume again today in Washington, and Secretary of State John Kerry hosted a dinner Monday night for Israeli and Palestinian negotiators. This is the first step in the latest attempt to strike a peace accord, and all sides acknowledge that it will be extremely hard to find common ground for any kind of a deal. Still, Israel's chief negotiator spoke optimistically as she left for the talks from her hotel.
This is something that we all need in the region. It's the Israeli interest, it's the Palestinian interest, it's the interest of the international community, so let's do it.
Meanwhile, in the Palestinian-controlled Gaza Strip, dozens of protesters rallied against the peace talks. There's also been some resistance from Israeli settlers. And Pope Francis is reaching out to gay priests, and his comments are getting a lot of reaction. Speaking in Italian during his flight home from Brazil, the Pope told reporters that if someone is gay and he searches for the Lord and has goodwill, who am I to judge? The Pope still says it's a sin, but gay people should be a part of society. During the wide-ranging news conference, the Pope also spoke about the possibility of women being ordained as priests. Francis said the church has spoken and said no, but he added that he does think women should have more of a role in the church. And the latest revelations in the Anthony Weiner sexting scandal are costing him big in a new poll. Plus, there are new questions about the role Bill and Hillary Clinton could play in his struggling bid for the mayor of New York City. Anthony Weiner tried to stay on message as he arrived for a New York mayoral forum Monday. Meanwhile, in Washington, his wife, Huma Abedin, a former top aide to the ex-Secretary of State, was spotted having dinner with other Clinton advisors. Facing growing pressure to drop out of the race, the former congressman dodged a question about whether Bill and Hillary Clinton could force his hand.
I am not terribly interested in what people who are not voters in the city of New York have to say. I am focused like a laser beam on their interests. I'm focused like a laser beam on what they care about.
Meanwhile, a new poll shows Weiner has plummeted 10 points among Democratic hopefuls from first place all the way down to fourth, and 53% of likely Democratic voters would like to see him bow out of the race altogether. Even former Governor Eliot Spitzer, who's attempting his own political comeback after a sex scandal, said he would not back his fellow New Yorker. And explosions from a propane facility rocked a central Florida town. At least 7 people were injured in the blast. 3 are in critical condition, but amazingly, there were no fatalities. The blast started around 10:30 at the Blue Rhino propane facility, a company that exchanges and cleans propane tanks. The blast could be felt for miles in every direction. The cause of the fire is still undetermined. And when your Newsmax Now update continues, what does the Soviet Union have to teach us about Obamacare? Coming up, an exclusive interview with Steve Forbes, plus why he says the healthcare law is imploding. And a rare tropical storm makes landfall in Hawaii, the impact and why some people are able to make the most of it. Next.
Are you ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting live from the Newsmax.
What is LigNet? LigNet is knowledge. LigNet is power. LigNet is global. Top-level officials, U.S. intelligence officers, national security advisors, foreign operatives, all reporting directly to you. What is LigNet? LigNet is confidential. LigNet is sensitive. LigNet is security. What is LigNet? They're the ones taking the world's pulse. If you're not in the know, you're not on lignet.com. You've been briefed.
Obamacare. More than $1 trillion in new costs. Hidden taxes, fees, big Medicare cuts, doctor shortages. How can we survive?
To know Obamacare is to survive Obamacare. The Obamacare Survival Guide tells you everything you need to know to protect yourself, your family, your business. The Obamacare Survival Guide at bookstores everywhere. Special internet-only offer right now at Obamacare911.com.
And welcome back. Hawaii was getting hit by the remnants of Tropical Storm Flossie Monday night and Tuesday morning. The storm caused widespread power and water service outages to about 7,000 people on most of the islands. Maui and the Big Island of Hawaii seemed to get the worst of it, but it wasn't all bad. Some surfers took advantage of the big swells caused by the storm. And during an exclusive interview with Newsmax TV, Forbes magazine editor and former presidential candidate Steve Forbes tells Newsmax TV that Obamacare is imploding because it's simply unworkable.
It's the idea that if people with spreadsheets in Washington could run 20% of the economy, that idea should have been blasted by the fall of the Soviet Union.
And to see more of our exclusive interviews and content, stay with Newsmax.com. This has been your Newsmax Now update for July 30th. I'm John Bachman. Now here's the Steve Malzberg Show in New York.
Tired of calls, levies, and liens from the IRS or hiring others who don't get the job done? Call Wall & Associates and you'll never talk to the IRS again. The IRS has a program to eliminate tax debt, and Wall & Associates professionals are trained to maximize its benefits for you. You always speak with a live person with real support and real knowledge. We've helped thousands of taxpayers like you settle their tax debt with the IRS for a fraction of what they owe. We solve tax problems. Call Wall & Associates now. 800-574-6029. We have the professionals who know how to solve tax problems. If you owe money to the IRS, your tax problems are not going away by themselves, and the passage of time will only make matters worse. Act now, before it's too late. Call Wall & Associates right now to speak to a professional tax relief agent. Call 800-574-6029. That's 800-574-6029. Again, 800-574-6029.
Are you ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studios, this is the Steve Malzberg Show. Be a part of the action by calling 855-777-9660. That's 855-777-9660. Or email Steve at malzbergshow@newsmax.com. Here is Steve Malzberg.
There's a new Anthony Weiner scandal. You guys are Before we begin the show, I want everyone to turn off their cell phones. Has nothing to do with our program. We just want to protect you from Anthony Weiner.
Be prepared. The show tonight may run a little longer than usual, and I'll tell you why. We have about 300 Anthony Weiner jokes to get through, so it's going to be...
That, of course, those were a bunch of comedians, and the last one, of course, was David Letterman commenting on Anthony Weiner. And we really have to thank Anthony Weiner for all he's done for us. we're really having a good time with this. And, of course, it's a more serious situation here in New York City because at some point in time, people are going to have to walk up to the polls and decide whether or not they want this guy to run. And we'll find out of that. But there's been an interesting survey out there. A lot of things happening with Anthony Weiner. But I'm going to read you the results of one survey out there. Apparently, Anthony Weiner is still hot with younger women. He has a 78% approval rating with females between 18 to 26 in a very new poll. Hopefully in a little while, we're going to be talking to an expert on this who runs a website that kind of connects these two people together. I'm going to just check with my studio because I didn't hear whether or not we have him on the phone. Are we still waiting? Okay. But anyway, the name of his site is seekingarrangement.com, and I don't know if I approve of this, and I'm going to ask him about this. This is apparently a sugar daddy site, and that's how Anthony Weiner was in fact caught. It's a sugar daddy site where they match up, I guess, rich people or older gentlemen who are willing to pay to, I guess, either talk or sext, S-E-X-T, to young women. I don't know how good a thing that is. But on a more important issue with the Weiner issue, I mentioned when I was talking with John Fund, that Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton are very upset about this. And I'm going to reiterate what I said earlier. I think Anthony Weiner is... he's using a different technology. I fail to see the difference between what he did and what Bill Clinton did. What Anthony Weiner had to do. Anthony Weiner, to the best of my knowledge, he's telling the truth now. Bill Clinton lied under oath. That was certainly reprehensible. And by the way, I'm bringing all this about. I'm trying to frame the issue for you. What I think. I have no problem with him running. Let him run. It's up to the voters to decide like that. He's already dropping dramatically in the polls. As a matter of fact, the last poll I saw, let me see if I can find that, he's dropped 10 points. He's dropped 10 points, so they get it. What's been missing in all of this is we're worried about his sex life. We're worried about Huma. We're worried about how many. Let's go to this cut. Let's go to cut, what was the other Anthony Weiner cut? Let's go to that second cut on Anthony Weiner. Where he's speaking before the press.
It's not dozens and dozens. It is 6 to 10, I suppose, but I can't tell you absolutely what someone else is going to consider inappropriate or not.
Does it really matter? Does it really matter whether it is 6, 10, 20, 25? I don't care. Nobody asked the big, important question. Nobody's even talking about whether or not this guy is qualified to be anything. The fact remains is that this man did not pass even one bill. All right, so let's find out about this seekingarrangement.com, matching people up, and why Anthony Weiner is so popular with hot women. And I'd like to find out what the definition of hot is. On the phone with us is Brandon Wade. He's the founder and CEO of seekingarrangement.com. Brandon, welcome. Thank you so much for being with us.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Brandon, so you conducted this survey. First of all, how do you get the names of all these hot women? Because I'd like a few for my phone book.
You're funny, yeah. Well, hot is a relative term, but
it certainly is.
On seekingarrangement.com, we basically match attractive women with obviously men who have wealth and are willing to spend money on them. So we tend to attract a lot more open-minded and attractive women who want to be spoiled and pampered. So that's how you would ultimately meet them if you ever want to find some.
All right, so I'm a young girl. I'm hot looking, okay? And I need some extra bucks. And so I connect with you somehow. What do I do? Call you up? Do I just go on your website?
They basically sign up on the website. So you either choose whether you are a sugar daddy on the website or a sugar baby. And in this case, if you're an attractive woman, you would be a sugar baby.
Okay, so I'm a sugar baby here, and I'm on the website. What do I expect to get in return? You're going to hook me up with some rich guy who's going to do what?
Who's going to spoil and pamper you. Some of them provide allowances, others would wine and dine you or take you on a shopping spree. A huge portion of the website consists of college students who join because they're looking for some wealthier guys to perhaps fund their college education. So there's really people from all walks of life.
I'm going to use, I don't think you're going to like the word I'm about to use, Brandon, but in essence, aren't you acting as a digital pimp?
Some people could say that, but at the same time, you have people falling in love and ultimately getting married through meeting the website. So I could say I'm also a digital, e-Cupid in that sense. So it's really how you perceive, the relationship.
Let's take it to a legal standpoint. I'm wondering how this is avoided here, because at some point in time, if you have a sugar daddy, and that's I guess the gentleman that seeks out your services, he wants the young, hot women. At some point in time, money is transferred from his hands to some young lady, all right? And that certainly sounds a little bit like prostitution. Is there some kind of legal groundwork here? How do you avoid criminality here?
Well, because these are real relationships between two people. I mean, ultimately they meet, and there has to be chemistry before the relationship moves forward. So if a boyfriend is wealthy and he hands the girlfriend, his girlfriend, some money, that certainly does not constitute prostitution. And in this money exchange does happen in the case of marriage as well. So the ultimate question is there a relationship, or is this purely a transactional business? And in our case, it obviously is a relationship.
All right. So somebody comes to your site. I guess obviously they pay money, credit card, and credit cards are exchanged. Is that it?
That's right. I mean, it works just like any other dating website. So on seekingarrangement.com, the guys pay $60 a month to communicate
$60 a month.
with the
Wow,
women.
that's a lot higher than Match.com. But for you're making it easier for them, right?
That's right. It's very easy, and of course, for the women, it's free, and that's why there's 10 women to every guy, because the women can use it for free.
Oh, now I get it. So the women aren't paying.
Well, of course not. I mean, if you're basically saying the guys have the money, then let the guys pay, and that's basically how our model works.
Some people would, I think call this immoral. I'm not going to go as far as that, but let's go back to the poll here. There must not be enough hot women out there, because I'm doing the numbers in my head here. He's got a 78% approval rating of hot females that 18 to 26 that think he should be, I guess, he should run, all right? He's dropped in the polls. I think he's polling at 15%. So what this is telling me, Brandon, is that there are very few hot women in New York City.
Well,
Am I
maybe
wrong?
and maybe not. I mean, when you look at the polls, I think a lot of people disagree with what Weiner did because he lied about it, not necessarily because he was sexting. I think it's okay to sext, if sex text if you want, and there's always two sides to the formula, right? I mean, you can't really do sexting without the other party being involved. And in this case, you have lots of young women who would love to be texting him, sexual messages, and that's why he was able to do it. So there are really two questions at play here. The question is, would you sex text with Mr. Weiner? And obviously lots of young women would love to experience that.
Well, you're
with
telling
him.
me that. You're saying 78% of the women polled would like to do that. It's a fascinating story. I've been on Match.com. I've been going through a life saga here, actually playing it out on air. It's been very interesting to me. Your site sounds a little frightening for me, so I don't know if I'm going to go that route. But thank you so much for sharing it with us. It's been fascinating.
Thank you for having me.
That was Brandon Wade. He's the founder and CEO of SeekingArrangement.com. I got to tell you, I'm not sure that's going to pass the legal framework for much longer. Let's see what happens. Who am I to say? We'll see what happens. Maybe we'll have him again next month. All right. Coming up next is Elliot Gu. He's the founder of the Energy and Income Advisor newsletter. And I want Elliot to join us because Prince Alawid of Saudi Arabia is out there saying how fracking is actually destroying his nation's wealth, fracking here in the U.S., and they're very afraid of it. So we're going to have him here to talk about that and talk about fracking here in the U.S. and how it's doing. I'm David Nelson. This is, of course, the Steve Malzberg Show.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
According to the FBI Uniform Crime Report, there are over 5,000 robberies every day. Your home could be at risk of being burglarized. Don't put your loved ones and valuables in jeopardy. For just over $1 per day, your home can be protected from break-ins, fire, and more. Get the latest home security technology from Protect Your Home, your ADT authorized dealer. Over 6 million households sleep better at night with ADT monitored home security. What's more, Protect Your Home is offering you their latest equipment, an $850 value, absolutely free for qualified customers. Protect your loved ones and home today. Call now for licenses and to find out more. The call is free, 1-800-949-8201. That's 1-800-949-8201. Again, 1-800-949-8201. $99 installation charge, 36-month monitoring agreement at $36.99 per month. Payment by credit card or electronic bank account charge. For new homeowner customers with satisfactory credit history only. Local permit fees may be required. Certain restrictions apply. Cannot be combined with any other offer.
150 million people suffer from headaches. All you want is for the pounding in your head to stop. Migralex stops the pounding. Migralex was developed by a neurologist and founder of the New York Headache Center.
I'm neurologist Dr. Alex Malzberg. After studying and researching the human brain for 25 years, I've developed Migralex, which eliminates pounding headaches. It works for my patients, and I'm so convinced it will work for you. I don't just guarantee it, I put my name on it.
Dr. Malzberg's Migralex gets rid of headaches fast without harsh caffeine, sodium, or preservatives.
Migralex works unbelievably fast, and it's gentle on my stomach.
Find out how to get your free bottle of Migralex. Call 800-532-2967. Plus, if you're one of the first 100 callers, you'll also receive the Migralex Quick Tips to Headache Relief absolutely free. That's 800-532-2967. Or go to migralexrelief.com. MIGRALEX relief.com. Or call 800-532-2967.
Do you have a motorized wheelchair or scooter that needs repairs and you don't know where to turn? Then call the experts at Precision Repair Network. They are the specialists in repairing all makes and models of motorized wheelchairs and scooters. You can call 24/7 and they will come to you anywhere in the United States. They'll give you a loaner to use until they return yours in perfect condition. And your repairs may be covered by your Medicare or your private insurance, so there is little or no out-of-pocket cost to you. If your wheelchair or scooter needs repairs, call this special hotline now and learn how you can get door-to-door service on your repairs at little or no cost to you. Precision Repair Network. They'll get you moving again. Operators are ready to take your call right now. 800-978-4813. 800-978-4813. 800-978-4813. That's 800-978-4813.
Drug, alcohol, and gambling addiction can be devastating for you and your loved ones. Don't let the disease of addiction ruin everything you've worked so hard for. The Treatment Helpline has helped thousands of people just like you take control of their addictions and live healthier, cleaner, and happier lives. You are not alone. Now there's hope. The Treatment Helpline has helped people just like you overcome their addiction. If you or a loved one is suffering from a drug, alcohol, or gambling addiction, let us help you today. Call 1-800-813-9821. Our seasoned addiction treatment professionals can show you how to use your private health insurance to help cover the costs of this life-changing program. Call now and get a free confidential consultation. 1-800-813-9821. That's 1-800-813-9821. Help is only a phone call away. Call 1-800-813-9821. That's 1-800-813-9821.
Sure, Steve might be a bit of a hypochondriac, but he never gets sick of breaking news. This is the Steve Malzberg Show. Call Steve at 1-855-777-9660. That's 1-855-777-9660. Here's Steve.
Welcome back. I'm David Nelson. This is the Steve Malzberg Show. You've heard me talk incessantly, especially on my Money News articles, about the importance of energy independence in this country. And a big part of that energy independence is happening right in the middle of our country. You've heard me talk about the importance of the Keystone Pipeline, how important fracking is. I want you to take a listen to this very short clip that appeared on Meet the Press. And I think finally the Democrats are getting it. Let's go to that cut right now. That was cut 12.
There are things that can be done outside of what Congress has to do. For one, I'm a firm believer. Approve the Keystone Pipeline. Let's create jobs and create tax revenue for the very states who will be touched by the construction of this.
That's a
You'll
game
create
changer.
higher paying jobs. You'll create greater tax revenue.
Energy independence is critical, and the transport of energy is really critical as well. Keystone is a big part of that. Very interesting article that took place in the last couple of days. Prince Alawid of Saudi Arabia is saying that they are frightened, actually terrified, of how well fracking is doing in the U.S. They could lose their biggest customer. Should we care? I don't think so, but let's find out. Let's talk to Elliot Gu. He's founder of the Energy and Income Advisor, and his newsletter is all about getting income out of energy. Elliot, thank you so much for calling in.
Oh, thanks for having me on the show.
Elliot, I'm not sure if you had a chance to read that article, but it seems that Saudi Arabia is concerned about it. So if they're concerned about it, doesn't it seem like we're doing something right?
Absolutely, and I think they have good reason to be concerned about that. I mean, if you look at the amount of production that's coming out of some of these shale plays in the U.S., for example, the Bakken Shale in North Dakota, just the sheer volume of oil that's coming out of that play. And what's, I think, happened in the last six months or so is we've seen a number of pipelines open up. For example, the Seaway pipeline from Cushing, Oklahoma, down to the Gulf Coast. And a lot of that oil from the center of the country is finally making its way down to the U.S. Gulf Coast, where most of our refining capacity is. And, you know, right now, we're only importing about 100,000 barrels a day of light sweet crude oil into the U.S. Gulf Coast.
100,000?
A few years ago, just 100,000 barrels a day. And by the end of this year, on the recent conference call just a few days ago from Valero, which is the largest independent refiner in the U.S., they feel that by the end of this year, the U.S. will actually be no longer importing light sweet crude oil into the Gulf of Mexico region.
Elliot,
let
me stop you right there for a second, because I want to understand this, and I want our viewers to understand this. To have a frame of reference, if we're importing 100,000 now, and we may not even need to do that, say perhaps in a few years, where were we, say, 5-10 years ago?
Right. Well, I mean, you know, the key thing is to look at the type of crude that's coming in. So a lot of the oil that used to be imported into the Gulf of Mexico region was light sweet crude oil, and a lot of that did come from places like Saudi Arabia, and the reason the light sweet crude oil is low in sulfur content and it's very easy to refine. But the thing is, a lot of the oil that we're producing domestically here in the United States is also light sweet crude oil. So a lot of the crude oil coming out of places like the Bakken and the Eagle Ford is light sweet crude oil, and now that that's finding its way to the Gulf, it's actually displacing all of those imports. So really all we're importing into the Gulf of Mexico region is a little bit of light sweet, which, as I said, by the end of this year, it's probably going to be down to nil, down from well over 1 million barrels a day just a few years ago. And we're going to be importing some heavy crude oils, but that typically comes from places like Mexico or piped in from Canada, as well as places like Venezuela. So we're not really getting that from the Middle East either.
You know, we hear that term,
really
Elliot, we hear that term all the time. I want to understand that. You know, we hear the term light sweet crude. Here's what I don't understand about the world of refining and why some crudes are desirable, some are high sulfur, some are low sulfur. But in the end, after it's refined and it ends up as gasoline or heating oil, isn't it all the same anyway?
It is all the same. The key issue there is that you have hundreds of different types of crude oil that are widely traded around the world. One of the problems that the U.S. has faced is the fact that our refineries here in the United States, for example in the Houston area, are set up to blend a mixture of light sweet crude oil and heavy crude oils. Now, if they don't have the right mix, they're just not optimized. They can't output quite as much gasoline or yield quite as much distillate, which is another word for diesel, as they can if they have that optimal mix. So what's actually happened over the last 6 or 8 months is that we have a little bit too much light sweet crude oil finding its way to the Gulf, and not enough of the heavy sour kind. So, you know, although in the end it's all the same, it all becomes gasoline, which is identical whether it's refined from heavy sour or light sweet. You know,
but all of this, Elliot, and I hate to cut you off because I want to get this in before the break. All of this depends on having, a good energy policy, and I think a lot of Americans would like to see the United States become energy independent. When you look at what the administration is doing right now, and some of the efforts you heard in that clip that former Congressman Ford, he's for the Keystone Pipeline. I still don't see the signature by the president on this legislation. Do you think this administration is doing the right things for energy in this country today?
Well, no. I mean, I think obviously we could do a lot better if we had better energy infrastructure to move all this oil that's being produced in places that haven't traditionally been big crude oil producers like North Dakota. It could be much cheaper to move that oil down to the Gulf Coast than it is right now, and we could benefit from even lower energy prices. What we're seeing is a lot of the producers are getting around that problem by using things like rail. Now, using rail to transport oil is faster because it doesn't take as long to set up that as it does to set up a brand new pipeline.
I understand that. I understand that, Elliot. I really want to, have you back again soon because I want to get into this information further. But we're going to have to leave it right there. Thanks so much for joining. You're listening to the Steve Malzberg Show. I'm David Nelson.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
My patients still don't know what Obamacare means for them. And how could they? There are already 13,000 pages of regulations, and the bureaucrats are just getting started. Obamacare will change your health care, and you need to understand how. There are hidden taxes and fines, big cuts in Medicare, even new regulations on what services doctors can offer you. Some businesses could get hit with a 40% additional tax on your health care plan. Please, get the Obamacare Survival Guide today. It's the best book explaining the new law. It's easy to read, everything you need to know to protect yourself, your family, your business. The Obamacare Survival Guide at bookstores everywhere.
Special internet-only offer right now at Obamacare911.com.
Hello, my name is Fred Fleitz, and I'm the managing editor of LigNet. You've probably seen our name preceding some of the stories you read on Newsmax or heard LigNet referenced on Fox News, C-SPAN, or CNN. Perhaps you've asked yourself, what is LigNet? LigNet is an acronym for the Langley Intelligence Group Network, a private Washington, D.C. based service that provides global intelligence, in-depth analysis, and detailed forecasting. LigNet's staff and advisors include former CIA officers, national security experts, presidential advisors, and top-level government officials from around the world. I myself held several national security posts for the U.S. government during my 25-year career with the Central Intelligence Agency, the Defense Intelligence Agency, the U.S. Department of State, and the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence. Our lead advisor is General Michael Hayden, the former director of the CIA. He is joined by former U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations John Bolton and former chairman of the National Intelligence Council and Special Assistant to President Ronald Reagan Fritz Ehrmann, former U.S. Ambassador to Venezuela Otto Reich, and former clandestine service officer Frederick Russman. Former chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, Peter Hoekstra, also joined our advisory board staff. Every day, our goal is to use our expertise, our resources, and our worldwide staff to take the pulse of the ever-changing political and economic landscape and the threats we face on a daily basis. Whether you are following global events for your portfolio or business, or just interested in the world around you, LigNet provides what you need to know to keep up with global events. There are many. Every day, LigNet members receive the Morning Brief, a daily email that provides summaries and links to our daily analysis to keep you up to date on LigNet's assessments. LigNet members receive unrestricted access to LigNet's secure database of global analysis. All of our special reports, previous analyses, and exclusive video interviews with intelligence insiders are available to members 24 hours a day. But you also get top-notch analysis that resembles the President's Daily Brief, the classified intelligence assessment delivered to the President of the United States every morning. LigNet also sends breaking news emails to our membership list. If there is a development of global proportions or a terror alert, our subscribers are always the first to know. I hope you now have a better understanding of what LigNet is, but more importantly, recognize how truly invaluable LigNet can be. As the old saying goes, Knowledge is power.
Join Lignet for $1. Go to lignet.com.
This is not your typical Screamfest talk show.
No.
This is the next generation of talk radio. Here is Steve Malzberg.
Welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show. I'm David Nelson. When I go out and get beer now, it's getting kind of complicated. I walk into one of these big cavernous stores to get a Budweiser. But it's getting a little bit more complicated, as I said, and I want to talk to an expert. So we brought in Daniel DeClerico. He's the senior editor for Consumer Reports. He's going to talk to us about beer. Daniel, thanks for coming in today.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Daniel, talk to me about the report you just put out. You did an examination of what the best beer is. I'm not going to ask. I'm not going to go for the money shot yet. I don't want to know what that is. But tell me the thesis behind this report.
Yeah, the market, as you say, the market's gotten a lot more complicated. It's almost like buying wine these days with the the variety and the different price points. So we wanted to focus on craft beers.
Explain to me what that is.
So a craft beer, it's a little bit of a slippery definition, but technically speaking, a craft beer comes from a craft brewer, which is a smaller, often regional brewer, who's producing no more than 6 million barrels per year.
So we're not talking about Heineken and Budweiser matching those guys up. We're talking about the small guys.
This is small guys, but that's where it gets interesting. Some of these bigger brewers, including Anheuser-Busch, have come out with a craft beer. So for the purpose of this article, we looked at any beers that were marketed as craft beers, because that's what the consumer's going to see when they go out to the store.
All right, I'm going to go for the money shot right now. What's the best beer that you came across?
So we looked at 23 separate craft beers. A few rose to the top, but probably the best of all is Stone IPA.
Where does that come
from Stone Brewers out in California. So it's an IPA, stands for India Pale Ale. Back in the day, in order for ales to survive the journey from Britain to India, they had to have a very high alcohol content.
How high?
Up above 7%, which is what we see in the Stone IPA.
Okay, that's high, but from what I understand, and I've talked to some experts right here at Newsmax that seem to know this subject very well. We go even higher than that. They're talking about some things like 11, 12, even 13%.
Another winner in our test is the Dogfish Head IPA. This is brewed down in Delaware. Actually, a former bartender from New York City started this brewery a few years back. Very popular. So Dogfish has a 120-minute IPA, which that's basically telling you how long it cooks for.
That's what IPA stands for? Yeah, I don't understand that.
So IPA, India Pale Ale. So I was starting to say to make the journey had to have the high alcohol content to survive from Britain to India. So that's where the name India Pale Ale comes from. But this Dogfish has the 120-minute IPA has an alcohol content of 18%, so that's way above a lot of wines.
18%.
Yeah, so you really do need to be careful with some of these beers. If you're used to throwing a few Bud Lights back, you don't want to do the same thing with a lot of these craft beers.
All right. Now, when I walk into restaurants now, and a lot of restaurants, at least I live in Connecticut, and I've noticed that throughout Connecticut, I see these high-end restaurants, and I walk in and I see the big beer manufacturing stuff. Are these guys part of this equation here, or are they're really small?
Sure. No, I mean, a lot of high-end restaurants have certainly embraced the craft beer movement, and we see some that are brewing their own. We weren't able to test any of those for this report, but the market really is splintering in very interesting and compelling ways for the beer enthusiast.
You said that Budweiser. You said Budweiser has one of these craft beers.
Anheuser-Busch, which makes Budweiser. Yeah.
I'm a financial guy, so the first thing I'm thinking here is somebody's going to get taken over. Why don't they just go out and buy some of these guys?
Yeah. Well, there is a real sort of purist tradition here. So I think we talked about Dogfish, for example, which is down in Delaware. They are very clear about the rules. In fact, they don't ship to some states because of the rules prevent them from maintaining their craft beer status if they get too big. So I think that answers the question. A lot of them aren't interested in getting bigger. It's a real love of the beer, and that's the model for success for these guys. So there are certainly exceptions, and we may see some consolidation in this market as the.
I want to go back to something that you mentioned earlier. You talked about it's getting like the wine industry, and one of the things you put in your report, and I found it staggering because I don't think about this. When I go out to dinner and I'm hoisting a few and I'm having a sandwich or something, I'm not thinking about matching beer with food. And you talk about this in the report. Is this getting like the wine thing where you're an expert in wine and you know what wine goes with what fish and what slab of meat?
No, absolutely. It's a little bit simpler, but here's the rule.
Give me some rules.
Yeah, fatty foods. That's the best pairing. So a craft beer is perfect for a burger.
So I'm going to choose a craft beer over, say, a Budweiser.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Why?
Well, the bitterness, which is one of the things that makes craft beers what they are and what people look for, but it can be a little bit much. Fatty foods are going to temper the bitterness, and they're really going to complement each other very nicely. The other similarity with these craft beers to wine is you really got to pour it into a glass, and not everybody knows that. A lot of the taste comes through in the aroma. So if you're drinking from the bottle,
why can't I have it, just slug in the bottle?
Well, you're not going to get the full experience, the complexity.
I'll get the full experience. Trust me, I'm going to get the full experience.
Well, yeah, especially if you go for one of those 18%.
18% beer. I don't care if it's in a glass or a bottle of wine. Oh, that's fascinating. Well, where can I go to buy this stuff? Can I go to the grocery store, or do I have to order directly from, I'm not going to go to Idaho or California.
Right. No, more and more supermarkets are carrying, a variety of craft beers. But some of them are regional, and they're going to stay that way. So for the Stone IPA, you're going to have a lot easier time.
So how do I get Stone? Can I order? Can I go to Whole Foods and get it?
I don't know about Whole Foods. Go to their website.
I got to order my beer now over a website?
Well, I was going to say they'll direct you to hopefully to some local retailers that carry it, but it's certainly not as easy as going out for a six-pack.
All right. We're going to have to leave it there. I got to tell you, if I can't get it right away, I can't walk into a deli and get it, I'm not sure I'm going to buy that. It's a fun segment. Thank you so much for being with us, Dan.
Great to be here.
All right, beer. I love it. I got to have it. I'm going to have it all the time. We've been talking with Daniel DeClerico, senior editor for Consumer Reports. You're listening to the Steve Malzberg Show. I'm David Nelson. We'll be back shortly.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Are you at least 62 years old like me? Could you use an extra $50,000, $100,000 or more to live a better life? Then please consider the benefits a reverse mortgage can provide to you. With a reverse mortgage, you can have your mortgage payments stopped altogether and get equity out of your home to live on. And you can use the money to help you live a better life. How nice would that be, not to have a mortgage payment? Qualifying for a reverse mortgage is simple, since there are no income, asset, employment, or credit requirements. However, you must be 62 years or older, own your home outright, or have a very low balance on the mortgage, and be prepared to live in it throughout the rest of the loan. Call now for more information.
800-831-1560. 800-831-1560. 800-831-1560. That's 800-831-1560.
3 a.m. and you're up again for the third time. It's not just affecting your sleep, it's interrupting your daily life. Frequent trips to the bathroom due to an aging prostate is a common concern, but you can now do something about it with Prostate Revive. Doctor-formulated Prostate Revive is an all-natural dietary supplement packed with 15 powerful ingredients, focused on improving prostate health by targeting the two main sources of prostate concerns, rogue testosterone and inflammation. And now, in this limited time radio offer, you can try Prostate Revive absolutely free. That's a free bottle, a 30-day supply of Prostate Revive, risk-free. Plus, if you call right now, you'll also receive our free report, A Doctor's Guide to a Healthy Prostate. Call now for details on getting your free bottle, plus our doctor's report. Call 1-800-659-REVIVE. That's 1-800-659-REVIVE. Don't be a victim of an aging prostate. Start getting the sleep you need and get your life back with Prostate Revive. Claim your risk-free bottle now at 1-800-659-REVIVE.
Don't complain about your cable bill going up and up and up. Do something about it. Grab a pencil and jot down this special number, 1-855-625-MY-TV. The more cable TV rates go up, the better digital satellite TV looks. So cancel the cable and get more of your favorite channels in 100% digital quality for less money. Call 1-855-625-MY-TV. Right now to sign up for packages starting as low as $19.99, and there's no equipment to buy. You get free HD TV upgrade, a free DVR upgrade, and free professional installation. You control what you watch when you watch it. Record your favorite shows, pause and rewind live TV, even skip the commercials. Watch local channels too. At just $19.99, what are you waiting for? Pull out your major credit or debit card. Call 1-855-625-MY-TV. 1-855-625-MY-TV. Cancel the cable, cut costs, and get more. 1-855-625-MY-TV. 1-855-625-MY-TV.
Hi, this is Mike Reagan. Folks ask me, what would Ronald Reagan do if he were with us today? I believe the first thing he'd do is stop Obamacare. Already it's in effect with higher taxes, hidden fees, skyrocketing insurance rates, big Medicare cuts, and some insurance plans are hit with a 40% tax. Protect yourself by getting the Obamacare Survival Guide. It's already a #1 New York Times bestseller. Newsmax says it's the best guide to the new law, giving you the strategies, tips, and loopholes you need to know. If you're insured on Medicare, a business owner, a medical professional, just about anyone, you need this book. Get the #1 bestseller, the Obamacare Survival Guide, at bookstores everywhere. Or get our special $4.95 offer and save $15 off the cover price.
Scroll down now to claim your copy of Obamacare Survival Guide for the special internet offer of only $4.95.
Health insurance is on everybody's mind right now. You either don't have it or you have it and you think it's too expensive. And you probably feel like you don't have any options. We can help. We are InSphere Insurance Solutions. We offer health insurance plans from major carriers nationwide and likely have a plan that can save you money. Whether you're self-employed, on a COBRA plan that's about to expire, or you simply don't have health insurance where you work and you need it, InSphere Insurance Solutions can help you. Our agents will help you find coverage you can afford. InSphere Insurance Solutions is an authorized agency in all 50 states, including the District of Columbia. Plans may not be available in all states. 800-980-9325. 800-980-9325. 800-980-9325. 800-980-9325.
Microphones hot. Satellite link established. Studio lights illuminated. Cameras rolling. Audio and video encoders firing ones and zeros. Internet stream streaming. The most technology advanced radio show is on the air. Here's the captain of this enterprise, Steve Malzberg.
Welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show. I'm David Nelson. Of course, I am not Steve Malzberg. Steve is off today. He will be back, I think, later in the week or early next week. We've had a great time today. I wanted to run a concept by you because I penned a piece for Newsmax earlier this week, and it was called The Perfect Storm. And I was talking about how content is king in really any form of any medium at all in the arts, and TV as well. In radio, TV, you got to have content. Now, you've probably been seeing this war that's going on between Time Warner Cable and CBS, and I believe it's actually already happened. I think CBS has actually gone dark on Time Warner Cable. Let me frame this for you, what's actually happening, because you're going to see this constantly in the weeks, months, and probably even years to come. CBS just simply wants to up their licensing fees, and frankly, they have the power. They develop the content. It costs a lot of money to develop a show just like us here right now. But the world is changing, and Time Warner is going to have to realize that. Time Warner is dependent on you. Many of you here in New York City, and perhaps in other places around the country, other cable companies like Comcast, which is of course the biggest. Where I live out in Connecticut, it's Cablevision. they've got to pay for that content, and they're kind of like the middle guy. But you, the consumer, you've got some choices now. There are other things that you can do. You can go on the web like you are right now. You're watching the Steve Malzberg show. You don't need to do that through cable. You may listen to it on the radio in this particular instance, and other companies understand this, all right? Comcast certainly gets it. They certainly understand the importance of cable. They tried to actually take over the Walt Disney Company back in, I think it was 2004. Why did they want to take it over? It wasn't the theme parks that they wanted, although they now own some theme parks. It was they wanted ESPN. ESPN is a very powerful force, powerful force on cable, a must-have station, and Time Warner is going to simply have to pay up here, because what can cable subscribers do? Well, one, they can put out as CBS, so it's in that lower spectrum band. They can put out radio rabbit ears, term you don't hear much these days, or go to CBS.com and watch some of their shows, because what Time Warner cable subscribers are going to miss right now. Let's go to Cut 27. They're going to miss this.
The town of Chester's Mill, trapped under a dome. Nobody can get out, nobody can get in.
2,000 people secluded. It just gets pretty scary very quickly.
We're so used to all these things working. All that's stripped away, and now people's true selves are going to come out.
And that's, of course, Going Dark, and that is the new hit series Under the Dome. That's Going Dark, and this is Going Dark as well from Showtime. Let's go to that second cut.
Now we have only 2 minutes.
You said you had information about an attack.
I have information.
Prove it.
The guards are coming.
We're out of time.
That, of course, was the very popular series Homeland that appears on Showtime. That goes dark as well. So what Time Warner Cable doesn't understand here is that the world has changed. You are not locked in to your cable subscription. And what many people are doing increasingly is they are just shutting down the premium channels because they don't need them. Now, you do need the internet access, and in many cases that cable company is, in fact, your internet connection. But you'll be able to go to the websites. You'll be able to go to newsmax.com if you want up-and-coming news. You'll be able to go to CBS News online. You'll be able to watch, well, even CNBC. You can get a subscription online through CNBC. You don't need the cable companies for that. They're going to have to understand that. And the other thing that Time Warner Cable is not getting is that football season is right around the corner. And CBS is home to New York's New York Jets. All right? Come fall, when everybody's screaming for their New York Jets games, and CBS is not to be found on Time Warner Cable, I think they're going to win that argument. All right, enough of cable. I want to talk about one other thing. We were going to have a wonderful guest on today. Unfortunately, he couldn't make it. We're going to try to have him on later in the week, and that was Lou Gramm. Lou Gramm, of course, was the iconic singer for the hit band Foreigner. And recently, him and his partner, Mick Jones, were inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame, and it played out on air. It was actually a reunion for the two. They have been kind of estranged. They wrote such fabulous hit songs. Feels Like the First Time, Cold as Ice, Dirty White Boy. And their biggest hit of all, of course, was a ballad, which is always the biggest hit for any band. They had, of course, I Want to Know What Love Is. That was their hit ballad. For Billy Joel, it was Just the Way You Are. Even for rock bands like Kiss, biggest hit song that Kiss had wasn't a rocker. It was that song Beth. And so that's what happens in rock and roll. But I wanted to share an experience with you because, you know, I was enthralled that we were going to have Lou on the show, because I got to remember when I first heard him come on the radio, it feels like the first time. I literally drove off on the side of the road because I wanted to hear it. It was that good. So he hit Mount Everest. And while I was a successful musician, maybe I didn't get to the top of Mount Everest. Maybe I made it up to Camp 5. But I had a lot of fun doing it. But my entry into the world of hit rock was a bit comical. And I wanted to take a couple of minutes and just share it with you. I had I had auditioned for this band called Nectar. They had 2 gold albums out. I was just frankly playing in bars. And I was knocking around, and this ad comes out. Village Voice says, International Concert Band wants new lead guitarist who can also be the lead singer. Apparently the star of the band had left. They were auditioning. It was a cattle call. I got the gig, ended up in New Jersey. They said they had an important show to do, and they asked me to stay overnight for rehearsal. So I'm all excited, and it's late that night. And, you know, they all have beautiful girlfriends, and I think the band put this together because I looked up late at night. I'm sleeping on the couch, and there's this beautiful girl. She's in a nightgown, and I go back to sleep. I sense this presence that someone is sitting on the couch next to me, and it's her, and she's coming on to me. That's the only way to put it. And I didn't succumb. I actually believed at the time that this was some sort of loyalty test that I had to pass to make it into the band. Well, I want you to know I actually passed the test. Nothing happened. But enough of that. On to the show. We're playing this very important show. It's New Year's Eve. This is going to be my first big gig. And I got to tell you, it's a big difference between playing 50 people, even 250 people in a nightclub. And now you're moving to maybe not an arena. This was a hall that held about maybe 10,000 people. So we're playing there. And we rehearsed there for one day. And the day of the show, it's very cold in the auditorium. And we kind of walk through the show. And they tell me, listen, we can't practice with the special effects because they're very costly. And the special effects were a light show on a screen behind the stage. Lots of fog, dry ice machines would be there. So I knew this going in. So it's showtime. And I'm stepping up to the stage, and you can kind of feel it. You know, that's one of the things that's just great about rock and roll. You're underneath the stage generally. You're in the dressing room. You're starting to walk out, and it's a thundering. People are stamping their feet, and the place becomes alive. Anyway, I step on stage, and the lights are dark. The dry ice machines are just going full blast, and I realize I've got a real problem here. I've got these foot pedals on the bottom of the floor, and that's how I control my amplifiers and my guitars. And there's an oak take sign with a lot of the lyrics that I need for this show, and I can't see them. And the other thing I have to worry about is at the start of this show, they told me there's going to be a huge explosion, big flash pots. We had ours; they were like 4 inches deep, 3 feet wide, 40 feet across the stage. This is going to be a big, big flash. So I think to myself, all right, I'll protect myself. I'll stand at the start of the show when we start playing. I'll look backwards. I'll keep my back to the audience. I won't even see the flash. I won't blind myself. So we start playing. All of a sudden it goes off, kaboom. It's like an atomic bomb. Like an atomic bomb goes off. I could feel my shirt almost catch on fire. Unfortunately, the problem is I'm looking at the screen up there, and the flash reflects off my eyes. It was as bright as the sun. I am now blind. I'm struggling up to the microphone. I have to start off singing, you know, the first part of the show. I remember the lyrics, "Call me down, the time is here," right? I've got that in my head. I can't even find the microphone. I've got to adjust the volume on my guitar. I can't find the pedals because I can't see them, and I can't even see the lyrics because of the dry ice. So I bend down. I'm not looking real cool, and I'm adjusting the microphone to get ready for the start of this show, or at least the start of this song. And I find it. I adjust it. I look awful. I stand up, and you hear stunk, stunk. That's my head hitting the microphone. All right? So my head hits the microphone. Now I'm really, really looking uncool. And I'm trying to imagine, I'm so embarrassed. I look out in the audience. There's like, in the second and third row, there are some fans of my old band, which is a band called the St. Rose Band. They're laughing at me. I felt the whole crowd laughing at me. It was an embarrassing moment for me. So it doesn't always happen that way, the way it does for Lou Gramm. You know, you don't necessarily start out at the top. It was a lot of struggling years for me, but I did want to have Lou on the show, and we're going to do our best to have Lou back later in the week. So I've had a lot of fun doing this. I hope you'll be back on Friday, because on Friday I'm going to be back here, and we're going to have Lou Graham back with us then. So remember a couple of things that you learned today, all right? The important items that I want you to take away from this show are, in fact, energy independence is critical for America, and we have to do everything we can to make this happen. And there are forces within this country that are pushing us in a different direction. And I think what Elliot Goose said, he really pointed out the real issue here is that Saudi Arabia is afraid of this. And if Saudi Arabia is afraid of it, then we must be doing something right. You know, we must be doing something right here. We have an abundance of energy in this country, and we need to learn how to tap into it. And we have to do things to protect ourselves. I get that. But as Congressman Ford said, this is the low-hanging fruit. This is the low-hanging fruit for America, and these are the things that we're going to have to do to make ourselves energy independent and protect ourselves and future generations. Had a lot of fun for today. You've been listening to the Steve Malzberg Show. I'll be back with you on Friday. Thanks for joining. I'm David Nelson.